Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Hunter.
And today we are going over Nova, the rules light sci-fi RPG where the sun has exploded and you fly exosuits called Sparks to save humanity. Super fun game by Spencer Campbell at Gila RPGs. How are you doing this morning, Hunter?
I'm doing so good. I'm very excited to go over this. The book looks really good. I'm bummed I don't have a physical, but look at this hardcover. Like
the just right off the bat, I gotta say the book is stunning. I'm so happy I got it in hardback. I think Spencer was talking about doing reprintings and softback next time. Very happy I got a hardback. You'll good. See. Oh man, you'll see in the PDF too. It's just like all the pages are black too. Like, it's just a really, we'll talk about it. It's a good looking book.
On this show, we're going to talk about this book. Let me tell you.
On this show, right now, well, not quite yet, but yeah, we will go over this. And at the end of the episode, there might be a little something extra, a little bonus out there.
Still waiting to find
that we'll get to. I'll probably announce a little bit about it halfway through the stream, so don't look at Twitter, Hunter. Yeah. So that's where we're at today. I'm going to stop yelling now. I know I do this every time. I'm going to try to remind myself every time. I don't know why I'm just projecting out of my face at the start of every podcast, but this is a little bit better. How's it going? First up, before we even get into Kickstart the Podcast, which we normally start with a little bit of news that's no news to anybody in the TTRPG community. Old School Essentials.
Oh, yeah. Have y'all ever heard of Old School Essentials?
Have you ever heard of them? Have you ever heard of OSE? I think I covered them all up.
Never opened Exalted Funeral ever.
Yeah. There's this folder here. And then right next to it, that's all OSE. My only problem with, not problem with OSE, I already own all the books. So I don't really want to spend $200 on the box set, but they're going to have like gold stuff on the boxes.
Maybe I spent $200 on the box set, but that's not really the point of this conversation. So for those of you who don't know, OSE, which is Old School Essentials, has a project up on Kickstarter, and usually Kickstart the Podcast, and we talk about these smaller projects that we like want to boost and that we really enjoy. And we both love OSE. It is in no way a small project. And really doesn't need our fucking boost. But having said that, we still talk about it. It's still cool. Yeah. Like we're still into it.
Here.
Let's
just take a quick peek because this is kind of like the news section. We're not really going to boost this project because it's already back for over $500,000 with 27 days to go.
It made like 30 minutes or some shit. You know?
Yeah. I would be shocked if it took more than 10 realistically, but here's a box set. It's really cool. I mean, OSE right now is basically the premium kind of like retro clone for, basic and advanced, the older versions of the world's most marketed role-playing game.
Yeah. Did you back this?
I didn't. I already own all the books. I'm trying not to.
That's what I was wondering, because I don't own all the books. And so I did back it.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it. I know people that did back it, and I might, throw some add-ons in with them for stuff that I don't have. But for the most part, again, like I own every book in this box set. Like, so...
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want it real bad, though. So we'll see what happens. Maybe if I can get someone to buy all the books I currently have, I can put that money towards a box set. We'll see. But yeah, again, this is just kind of news more than anything. Yeah. We don't really need to...
If you don't know this is happening, that's totally fine. But it is interesting that you know about our show, but you don't know this is happening. Because we are way less popular than this shit, Yeah. Just a little bit. I'm not way less, I was gonna wear my necrotic gnome shirt today too, but I didn't. No, but you're wearing your Exalted. I'm wearing my Scobby's Bake Shop. Oh, wrong side.
Oh, there you go.
You gotta get that bread.
Yep. So that's
OSE.
Oh, the bake shop. Get the bread. I like that. I like that. That was good. Boom. That's nice. I like it. For those that didn't see in the podcast line, he stood up, turned around, and the back of the shirt says, "Let's get this bread."
My buddy has a bread company. I'm wearing his shirt today. It's very comfy, so that's why I'm wearing it.
I'm glad we
Not
put
to
all
plug, not to
those.
plug it on the podcast or VOD. Yeah, OSC, very cool. I'm getting it because I don't own all the books. So
then transitioning into our real Kickstart the Podcast. This is our last week for Zemo, Zine Month. All of those, the projects that decided to continue on when Kickstarter fucked up and moved Zine Quest to later in the year for no reason, and then try to fuck around with NFTs. So one of the projects that I really wanted to talk about is called Wassail. 2 pages here for that. It looks really, really interesting. There's an itch page for the download, and then there is a physical page to get the book, which is really neat. So getting into the download first, what this game is a game of hot spice drinks, ancient trees, cartomancy, and ritual. Basically, you will prepare a flask of hot wassail and head off into the forest at night to find the oldest tree. And while there, you will perform a ritual to bless the tree and discover the forest's innermost secrets. And all you need is a deck of cards, the wassail that teaches you how to make, and a couple of people. And this sounds really fucking cool. I really, really like.
Cool. Sounds hella weird. I'm into it.
Like esoteric shit, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I love that. Right. I actually have a zine I got from Exalted Funeral called Esoteric, and actually like it's just completely black on the outside, and you don't even get like a title page until you open it up, and it's just full of weird ritual kind of games that are like part like this and part like Eyes Wide Shut, kind of like I can see this in like a very weird group of friends who get a little too, you know. We might know some people like that.
Table. Yeah. Can't play with your D&D table. You need your weird art friend table for this.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a Christmas game. I think it's just about the oldest tree. But it's only $4 for the digital version, and it gives you both an EPUB and a PDF. I really like that. There is this trend going around. I don't know how big it is yet in TTRPG community, but I know people like Chris Bissett are really pushing to have people have products that are more. If you're going to do digital, make them more available in digital. Do EPUB, do Mobi, do like things that are better for screen readers and things like that. So it's really cool that this is an EPUB and PDF. This is from James Chip, by the way. And on their website, this is the cover art for it, I think, and it's gorgeous. And it actually has for 8. That's going to be pounds, not euros. No, that's euros. No, that's pounds. You can get the
American
Phil, right? You can get the print version of this. So this is a pre-order funding thing on the website. Once it sells 26 copies, they'll make it and ship it, or they'll break even at 26 copies. They've sold 21 so far. So how about 5 of us buy this?
Shit, I got you.
Yeah.
Well,
wait. We'll just get 2. So we'll get 2. So the shipping is
okay. That's fair.
To one place, because I can only imagine it going to one of us and then me shipping it to you, or vice versa, is cheaper than them shipping 2 packages from England. Yeah. And plus better for the world, less packaging. Anyway, this looks really, really cool. Basically, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what you do except go play a ritual after making a cool drink. And that's way more than enough for me.
Yeah, I'm okay. Like these games that are not made to be played as like a continuous thing, and that you just have like a little weird experience every once in a while with like a weird group of friends. I'm really into that. I need a couple of weirder friends to play it with.
Because we need to live closer.
Yeah, it's true. My rock climber friends are maybe not the weirdest people in the world all the time. They're very, Well,
it's a special kind of weird too to play shit like this. Like it's the same kind of weird. I would play this game with the same people I play Kingdoms with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like my games. I have a hard time finding a crew for that, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. The feelings games, because some people just...
Feelings games.
They're not good at their feelings.
I'm ready to cry, you know?
Let's fucking do this. Anyway, so this is Wassail. I hope I'm saying that right. James Chip. So the digital version is just up now, and just go get that. But the print version is the funding pre-order situation, and is expected to ship in May. So if it sells a bunch, like 75, it says, they will push for more art. And the artist for it says, is a designer, illustrator, goth, druid, musician, and craftsperson. And the zine is printed on black and white recycled paper. So really, really cool. Definitely go check that out. Really excited to get this. I wanted to talk to you about it for the same reason that if we both decided to get a print version, that we could just do the shipping.
Yeah.
That will definitely be 23 by the end of the day. So let's get, again, 2 more people get this, and we get James Chip to break even on this cool game. And that is Wassail for me. So you are up, sir.
Cool. We're going to talk about Those Who Came Before by Kyle R. Maxwell. This is a supplement for Into the Odd, a nice little Mark of the Odd extension, and it is based on they take inspiration from Numenera by Monty Cook, which you might have heard me mention several times on this podcast if you listen regularly. That Cipher system is a system that I really enjoy. Numenera is like a future fantasy, science fantasy setting that uses the Cipher system, but the whole basis of like Numenera is like the Arthur C. Clarke quote, like any sufficient enough technology is indistinguishable from magic, or however it goes. So that's like the whole theme of it. So in this extension for Into the Odd, you will be delving into a kind of a dungeon of a old society, ancient society that's been kind of uncovered. And you'll go in and you'll find, these oddities, this technology that's almost indistinguishable from magic, which is very much in line with Into the Odd in general. The current funding for this project is going towards hiring layout and paying for art. Right now, this project costs you $4 US, which is not fucking bad at all. They've raised $247. Their goal is $500. And so I think that you all need to go give them money, because I think this is a really cool project. I downloaded it forever ago, so I actually already read through it. And I think it's really cool. I'm stoked to run it with my Into the Odd group. But yeah, a nice little, we're big on Into the Odd on this channel.
Yeah, for sure. 2 things that I really like about this. First, the cover is gorgeous. Like, I assume this is just a piece of...
The cover is fucking cool, man.
It's so good. And it, realistically, like, when you think of, like, Into the Odd and the science fantasy and stuff like that, this gives you that kind of, like, weird, odd... But, like, it's so glass, so there's enough tech to it. Like, I think this hits the vibe, like, dead on. And it's just really...
And if you read through it, it's very much like this fits in perfectly. Like, it's very easy to slide this in.
The other thing I really like is 2 things here. I did get the Blades in the Dark book. We're gonna have to talk about that. But 2400 by Jason Tochi is a really, really. We'll have to talk about that. I recently downloaded this, and it's so cool. But I also love the Olivia Hill rule, which is something that Adam Vass puts in a lot of his books, which basically says, "Fuck fascists. If you're fascist, don't play this game. Be better, do better." And I feel like that's super, super important to repeat over and over again right now in the world, especially.
Very much is.
Yeah. So that's Those Who Came Before.
Sick.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
All right. I am going to talk about Caverns of Mourning. This project is a whimsical, weird, and dangerous dungeon module for old school essentials. If you weren't here at the beginning and you don't know about what Old School Essentials is, go check out their Kickstarter. It's already passed $500,000. But this looks really, really cool. It's way past its funding. It blew past its original stretch goals, which is really cool. But this says 900 years later, those damp corridors and fetid chambers play host to myriad denizens. Well, let me read this beginning part. 3 times 300 years you shall want for nothing. 3 times 300 years you shall see no rival. 3 times 300 years you shall reign on a throne of your making. The witches lied, but honeyed tongues caged the king's heart. Wisdom of kinship fell on deaf ears, and he was blinded by purpose. He fled to the darkness where sun could not find him. The witches died, but the woes had been done. The ground broke and buried behind him. The king wept, for he was alone. So
nice. You really hit that hoe just now. You're really
there it is. 900 years later, these damp corridors and fetid chambers play host to myriad denizens, whether it's a carnivorous gatormen who worship and serve their great turtle god, their hated rivals, the boar-faced orcs seek enlightenment, or the shattered remnants of the Morning King's retinue, cursed to an eternity as life-starved husks. This sounds really, really cool. It just, again, a weird, whimsical dungeon it started out as a 32-page dungeon module, but if you look at all of the stretch goals, it got...
We've surpassed 32 pages now.
Yeah, it's there's Alabaster Crypt unlocked, full color production, Witch Tree Grove, which is the second micro dungeon, Totala, which is 4 more pages, another tower, which is another micro dungeon, a dungeon synth EP, and it keeps going. There will be a hex crawl at 3000. Yeah. So this looks dope. A couple of things that I really, really liked about this project. First, the art looks really, really cool. It just looks really nice. Cool pieces that I'm showing on stream that the people on the podcast can't listen to.
If you're listening to this, we love you.
Yeah, go check it out. The other thing that I really loved was this. Okay, so you get this A5 5.8 by 8.3 saddle stitch bound on quality satin paper, exteriors and interiors in full color. But look at this part right here that I love. The PDF version will be optimized for use while running games with embedded links and cross-referencing.
Oh, look at them. They're living in fucking 2022, man.
My current legacy that I will claim in tabletop community, in tabletop gaming, is there are some big games out there that have hyperlinks because I gave people shit about it. So you're welcome.
I think the only one we have confirmed is that Into the Odd added hyperlinks.
No. Kevin, friend of the show, Kevin Rahman.
We have to say friend of the show now.
He did say that he was going to be adding some hyperlinks to the
hilarious.
Yeah, to some of the to some Forbidden Psalm stuff. So I'm gonna hold him to that. Or don't. You don't have to listen to us, Kevin. Friend of the show, Kevin. But anyway, so that is Caverns of Mourning. Looks like a really, really cool Old School Essentials dungeon for Old School Essentials and all you people that decided to buy that entire box set. So check it out. And I think we just have one more, right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Discordantopia, which is a supplement for both Polka and Troika. And if you don't know what Polka is Troika, except very stripped down, and uses dice pools instead of the regular Troika rules. It's supposed to have less math. Honestly, haven't really looked into it, but I'm always down to do less fucking math, man. So whatever.
Hardcore.
So Discordantopia is they say a dystopian punk spelljammer type city. So this whole extension is one whole city that you get to work through. I am also, just like the last one where I was like, oh yeah, references Numenera. I'm a huge Numenera fan. I also fucking love Spelljammer. I think it's one of the best things that, D&D ever did. Shout out. Although it's been a long time since there's been a recent Spelljammer. But yeah, so what is Discordantopia? So it is this very large city. And what is in this module, you will get a zine. On the player side, there are 8 new Polka/Troika compatible backgrounds, a brief guide with Karen-esque player agendas and principles, which I think is really cool to add into a Troika. That's to kind of ensure that everyone's on the same page. On GM side, going to give you a kind of a how-to on how to maneuver through this vast city, what's in it, what are some points of interest. They really market this. It's almost a very sandbox experience, right? Like they give you the tools to be specific, but it is an open area for your players to interact with and kind of fulfill their agendas and just kind of have a good time and be weird, chaotic, and odd. And I really love the first piece of art on here, which is like this hallway locker room with these people kind of just hanging out on these weird ass couches. And there are all these characters that just like, name one of these things, what are any of these things? You don't know. You don't have to know. It's whimsical. It's fun. And then the second piece of art, go ahead.
This looks like Men in Black with like a little bit of drugs.
I can see that. Everyone's hanging out. And then the next piece of art is actually the rendering of the city, which looks really big. It looks kind of massive. So
so big.
Yeah, Yeah, this project is only $10 US, and it's funded. It's past its funding. So we're really just bringing it up because we think it's cute. So
looks good. I like the colors on this page too. So
do I. It's funny because it's weird to describe a Troika supplement as Spelljammer-esque, because Troika's Spelljammer-esque, all of it is. So,
but it kind of is though. But I like the part at the bottom.
It definitely is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I do like this part at the bottom though, where it says it's kind of more like Electric Bastionland setting as opposed to like a regular Troika setting.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's like,
yeah,
it's much more open, and like there's a lot of very specific information that you can interact with, but you don't really necessarily have to, But it's there. Yeah, Troika does not give you a lot of super specific setting information on anything.
And that's kind of their whole thing. Like they're just like, but that's the thing that I kind of don't like about. That's one of the things that I'm not as big a fan of Troika because I'm a lore boy.
Setting information. Yeah, you like lore books. I don't. I want there to not be that much lore because I want to just do whatever the fuck I'm gonna do. So
see, and I like to take like things that are already there and make them my own, as opposed to making like brand new things out of nothing.
Yeah. But yeah,
like I love adventure seeds and things like that.
Yes, that's very fair.
Gosh, 8:35. We started 10 minutes late and somehow got through Kickstart the Podcast before 8:45.
It's not even. We did it. We did it, y'all.
We did it. Look at that.
Round of applause for us. Everyone clap for us, damn it.
Boom. Plenty of time to go over Nova then.
Nova.
So, are you ready for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had Nova pulled up for the past 3 days.
Yeah, look how pretty that book is.
It's a really good cover. I like, and when we get into the book, the pages are all black, but there's like a lot of use of color. But I like because the front and back, like behind me, you see, is just all red. And it looks really nice. The rest of the book isn't like that at all, but this also fits the theme somehow. But yeah, I'm stoked.
We're good.
How do you feel about this game, Ryan? Give me a sentence,
Give you a sentence. I like it.
Cool. Very good. That is a sentence. So
that is in fact a sentence. I like looter shooters and I've never really played an RPG that's. A lot of times you hear about role-playing games, like they try to not be video games, or they try to not be like power gamers. Everyone's like, you don't be a power, fifth. It's about role play, not power gaming. This is power gaming. This is literally the definition.
Really
this is the system.
It, so.
It's designed for power gamers. Like it's literally built for that. So it's interesting to just be like, no, do that. Do that harder.
Yeah.
Go do the thing you're not supposed to in other games. So what do you think?
I think that I don't normally like looter shooters, but I do like a lot of things about this game. I really do like this game. It's a very fun, clever, super OP game. They're just like, you're just gonna come in here and you're gonna kick fucking ass, and you're like, okay, cool. Like I could totally get down doing that. That sounds cool.
That's literally the whole point. You kick ass and you can't die, and you just
I do like my brutal experiences in games, but I totally appreciate when they're like, no, you're gonna come in here and it's gonna be you fighting and throwing massive energy balls and just being a superhero. And I'm like, that sounds kind of tight. I could do that.
Yeah. So Nova is from Spencer Campbell or Gila RPGs. Spencer Campbell created the Lumen system. And we'll talk about, you want to talk about Lumen kind of at the end or here at the beginning?
I don't care. You choose. So I actually haven't read the Lumen individual. I've only read Nova. So
one of the things I really like about Lumen and Spencer and a bunch of the stuff is that not only with is there Nova, there's also Light, but not only is there like a third-party license for it, he actually put out an SRD for it, which is actually right here, and he's like, sure, make fucking games, just go ham. So you can actually find a shitload of Illuminated by Lumen games. I got that one that was kind of like a Japanese fighter, almost like Power Rangers one that you sent me. Lumen Rider? Yeah.
I got that one.
Yeah. And then, there's also, like In Extremis from Keegan XE. There's hedge, which is really, really cool. So unless I'm completely talking to my ass, I'm pretty sure that those are lemon. But yeah, it's just a really cool system, and there have been a lot of really cool games. Yeah. A lot of really cool games based on it already. So it's kind of one of those, like, I think I tweeted a while ago about, like, hey, you know, if you're a creator out there, how cool would it be to create a system that people like so much they start making other games with it? And this is kind of the definition of that. There's a shitload of Illuminated by Lumen games, because it's just a really cool, simple, fun system. So yeah, so getting into Nova, I like this part, dedicated to their partner who hates the sun as much as I do. Right there with you, buddy. But
we get it, bro. You're emo. It's fine.
Hey, or I just do night shift. Great people inside. Editing by Will Yopst. You might know Will Yopst from the Brain Trust podcast with Adam Vass. So yeah. Keegan's in there, like all sorts of Tony Vicenda. I mean, just some great people associated with Spencer and the project. Illuminated by Lumen, Gila RPGs. Right off the bat, we head into the table of contents, and guess what? Oh,
is
hyperlinks.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize it was.
Yeah, not bookmarked, but it is hyperlinked, and I'll take that.
Listen, it's hyperlinked. You know.
Yeah. So we got about. Here's the thing. We got about. I think it's 80 pages. It's not a dense 80 pages.
No, it's super not dense. I didn't even realize that right now it was 80 pages because it's pretty light.
Super easy to read. What did we read that was only 30 pages but was like, was it Mothership? That was just like 35 pages, but it's like,
I don't know. Mothership was so dense though. I regret not cherry picking that one, you know?
Yeah. We need to be better about cherry picking stuff in the future so I can actually get to the so we can get to the end and stuff. So, yes, again, but that's not a bad thing. I like the length of the book. I like that it's long enough to be put into a hardback as opposed to just a zine. Because man, I love me some zines. I will say though, zines don't look as nice on a bookshelf because you can't tell what the fuck it is. So I love that I have a nice hardback here for this. So getting into it and going Nova. Nova is a tabletop role-playing game about exploring and rebuilding a world after the sun exploded. With Nova, you and your friends tell the stories of the Sparks, brave individuals wearing exosuits fueled by the sun who venture out into the dark. Suit up and get your systems ready. Your humanity's last hope of a new dawn. And that's it. And again, as we said, right when you start off, the pages are really well laid out. The layout is really, really cool too. The great use of color.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to point something out later on in the rules where it's a very minor like layout thing. That was just like, oh, wow, that's a really great way to lay that out because it makes the information so easy to take. Yeah. It's a good looking book. It's well laid out. There's art that's nice. It's one of the better looking books we've done. And it's good looking the kind of way that Orbital Blues was, where it just consistently had good imagery or like it was well laid out. It really reinforced the kind of tone they were going for. Yeah, I definitely, and I like that the pages are all black and everything's color on it since the sun exploded and everyone's like, so I just think like, this thing must have been a bitch though, you know?
I bet. The only thing that, and I wish, and I don't know how or why, but like the pages are black, but the edge of the book is still white. I wish the edges of the pages were black too. That'd be dope. But that's such a small, tiny little like whatever but yeah, and as we said, the pages are laid out very like simply, so there's not too much information on each page. That's why 80 pages didn't feel super dense. But yeah, so hopping into the rules, what do you need? At least 4 6-sided dice per player, a character sheet, and that's about it. And then there are roles at the table. Basically, it just says that the players are Sparks, which are solar-fueled exosuits designed to defend humanity and explore the dark places beyond their walls. And then one player is the GM. And together, you all play the game. And when we get to the GM section, there is a really long GM section in the back. And a lot of the GM sections, I kind of like skip through because it's just kind of like the same bullshit. I really like this one. And
I didn't read it, so.
It's like half the book. We'll go over it because it's actually really good information, and we have extra time today because it's still not even 8:45. So quick brief history, and I like this. The sun exploded. Its shards crossed the solar system and smashed into Earth and our moon. Humanity was devastated, nearly wiped out. The moon was stuck in the sky, a glowing pockmarked beacon of our apocalypse. Hundreds of years later, we rebuilt. The shards of sun planted themselves on our surface and cooled. Humanity huddled around these shards, harnessing them for warmth and light. And now with the advent of the sun wells, we can tap into the near limitless energy of these shards. In a twist of fate, this new source of fuel is skyrocketing us forward in our tech. The cities built around the sun wells are a hybrid of the ruins of old Earth and the technology of new Terra. We are ready to face the dark. I don't know if it says it here or at some point, but it was basically like, the sun blew up and shards of it are stuck in the Earth. Don't ask questions. Just fucking go with it.
I'm good. I wasn't going to ask you questions anyway. I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah. So then humanity built the Sparks, these powerful exosuits that explore the darkness and defend humanity. And you are the Sparks. The old Earth is filled with ruins. You explore them. And it's time to suit up and bring about a new dawn. So heading into the rules, there's this general thing. It's a tabletop role-playing game. It's a conversation between the GM and the players. And Spencer reiterates multiple times throughout the book that the GM is a player too. You're supposed to have fun, and it's not just your responsibility to have fun at the table. So I really like that. Yeah. Does that a lot in the RPG or in the GM section at the end. Basically it's when you want to do something, you roll. And success or failure is and you only roll if it's meaningful. It's not just like random bullshit.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing a text or if you're attempting something.
You can open the door, you know?
Exactly. And when sparks act and there's no risk, there's no need to roll. That's all it says. Roll when you need to. So here's the core mechanic of basically what the Lumen system is. Obviously there's more, but this is the core of it, how it basically works. When a spark describes a risky action, the GM decides what attribute, and there's 3 attributes in the Lumen system. For Nova, there's sun, moon, or shade. I like the use of Oxford comma in there. Best describes the way in which the spark is acting. We'll talk about attributes on page 5. So the difference between sun, moon, and shade we'll get to. The spark rolls a number of d6 equal to their attribute and keeps the highest result. So to explain that, if your sun score is 3, you roll 3 d6s. So you're basically rolling. Yeah. Well, so no, you're rolling the dice pool.
Yeah.
And on a 1 to 2, you fail. And if your highest dice is a 3 or 4, it's success with a consequence. And if your highest dice is a 5 or a 6, you get a total success, full effect, no consequences, and anything. So yeah. So basically, you want to roll a 5 or a 6 across your dice pool. Right. And that's it. That's a success. So that is the core of the entire Lumen system. It's clever. I like it. Yeah. Like, it's a way.
I roll a lot of 3 dice, and man, it's pretty hard to fail with 3 dice. You know?
Yeah. Well, do you normally get a 3-4 or a 5-6? I wonder what the curve. Well, I guess it's dependent on the pool.
Depending on the pool, but you do seem to, when we get into character. Actually, we'll get there when we talk about character creation, because it tells you how many points you have to lay out. So.
So do you feel like you almost always got total successes, or do you feel like you got a mixed bag?
I rolled maybe 30 times 2 nights ago when I was reading through this, because I built a little mini character, and I failed very little.
But did you do
on my higher level stats? I failed almost none at all. So,
but is that 1, 2, or like 3, 4, or do you mean like anything besides the 5, 6? Is what I'm saying.
I rolled a 5 or a 6 on almost every single one, and there was a few where I rolled a 4 and no 5s, and there were very few where I didn't roll above a 3. So
gotcha.
It's like, gotcha. I mean, it's fun. This is a very epic game. Like, it's supposed to be super epic, but the chance of failure once you get above 2 die is like minimal, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, this game is built as a looter shooter, and yeah, you're right. You are supposed to. It's not that you're not supposed to fail
all the time. Yeah.
But you're supposed to feel powerful and epic and just fuck shit up and like have these like epic like movie sequence. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I'd love to play it. And if you're gonna build a game where you're supposed to be like an OP, like. But not just like exosuit battling shit where like you literally can't die and you're just supposed to feel like a badass action star. like looter shooter, like you can't die in Destiny, you know, then that's perfect system for it, you know, is to generally do the things you want to do and occasionally face some consequences for it. Speaking of consequences can be any complication for the situation. The spark may have tripped an alarm or damaged a console or whatever. And when in combat, consequences might include enemies dealing harm to the sparks or making technically sound maneuvers. But unlike a 2d6 kind of like they only act when you fail kind of thing, enemies do get turns in this. So it's not like they can't do, it's not like they can't only do damage on your consequence, because then, you would never get hurt. When in combat, consequences might include enemies dealing. I already did that. The one exception to the core mechanic are powers. Oh, one thing that I did notice, I love that there's hyperlinks in the beginning, but there's a lot of sections within the book that say, like, you'll see this on page 63. A hyperlink there to page 63 would be nice. Nothing. The one exception to the core mechanic are powers. Using a power never requires a roll from a spark. More details on powers are used later. Spoiler alert, you have fuel to power your powers, and you just have to expend fuel, and then power is just used. So we'll get to that in combat. Cool piece of art to fill up this page. This is actually kind of a silhouette of a spark later, which I think is a cool little precursor to kind of see the image now and then get it appeared later. Attributes represent how the sparks act in and out of combat. Attributes are how the pilots resolve actions when they are acting on and off the field. Attributes are rated numerically. During the game, the GM will test different attributes which players will roll dice. Here are the examples of the 3 attributes, and I really like them. And again, in the GM section, it talks about a lot of the rules being like somewhat vague, because these are supposed to be like inspirations, not like it's the whole rules, not rules kind of thing.
It's not a hard line. Here's a more or less a suggestion of how this is supposed to work, but interpret it in a way that works for your table.
Exactly. So Sun, Moon, and Shade are really good examples of that. Sun moves are powerful, destructive, sweeping actions like brute forcing things, smashing doors, enduring strenuous weight. You could kind of call this power, I guess, if you wanted to, or strength. Roughly.
Like that.
Moon is quick, reactive, dangerous actions. Quickly hacking a console, threading the needle, avoiding harm or detection, making a quick exit. Again, it's kind of a vague like agility score.
Agility, mental agility. And
then Shade is practiced, patient, methodical actions, carefully unlocking a console, assessing a situation or location, knowing when to act, or using logic to reach a conclusion, which this is the most kind of vague one, but this would be kind of like wisdom-ish. They remind me of the 3 scores in Orbital Blues a little bit, how it's just like, it's kind of...
Where are they? Blanking. What were the 3 scores in Orbital Blues?
It was like great. Well, now you shouldn't have asked, because now we have to bring it up.
It's blue. I think blues is 1. So
no, it's like
we read through the whole thing. I read through the thing 6 times, and I fucking cannot.
No, I'm half tired, and you just woke up. Why would you ever ask that question?
Doesn't matter. Not part of the conversation. Keep it moving.
Nope. Now we gotta look it up. You son of a bitch. Come on, Dropbox, open.
Oh, you're depending on Dropbox for this. Good. All right. Well, I guess I'll perform a song to keep our listeners entertained.
There you go. That's exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
No. The 3 scores in Orbital Blues. Yeah. No, don't show cats. Muscle, Grit, and Savvy. I knew Grit was one. So Muscle is strength stuff. Grit is and Savvy is exactly. So again, it reminds me of those 3 scores, because they're like, you as soon as you read the description, you're like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Sun, Moon, Shade, powerful moves, quick moves, and patient moves, which I really like, and I do like that a lot better than just the standard agility, wisdom, situation and stuff. Put that goddamn cat away.
I got a cat, bruh.
So example of play, which I really like, and we're big fans of examples of play here on the show.
I love. There were several of these, and they were easy reads, and
So Kate is playing a Voyager, a scouting class spark designed to seek and destroy the enemies of the dusk. She wants to leap across a chasm unnoticed, timing it when the lunar hounds have their attention pointed elsewhere. The GM decides that this is a moon action. It's quickly acting during a moment of opportunity. She has a 3 for moon, so rolls 3d6 and keeps the highest. It's a 5, a total success. The GM describes Kate's spark landing on the other side, the lunar hounds unaware of her presence. Exactly. The next up is Spark. Do you want to take Sparks?
Yes, Sparks. Features. While each Spark is built for specific tasks and roles on missions, they all share common features. And I like this breakdown of how to make a character, because when you talk about attributes, they're usually in parallel, the individual attributes, with the other things about their character sheets, but really they're a whole group. And I don't know why, but like this really simple breakdown where it says attributes and it like tabs down and in and it has what the 3 are. Don't know why. Very easy to understand. But so you have attributes, which are your sun, moon, shade, health, which is your health, fuel, which is a resource that lets you use your powers, flare, which is like modifications, and powers, which are your like spark abilities, which we will get into. Powers and fuel, each spark has unique powers coming in 2 different types, passive and active. Passive powers marked with a P are always in effect. For example, Pyre's slash passive allows them to deal 1 harm. Hello, cat. Why don't you walk by the screen while I'm reading? 1 harm to any close enemy at the start of their turn. Active powers require spending 1 fuel to be used. For example, spending 1 fuel allows Pyre to activate their hunter power, hurling a flaming spear at any far enemy. While these powers can be used at any time, they're most typically used during combat. Yeah, so you have powers, you have fuel, passive. I like the passive abilities. I'm a big passive ability guy, you know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's just a really good, clean, easy system. You know, it's literally like it's like the so 3 attributes and 4 things.
Totally. If I like my session 0 with my characters for this, my player characters would be so short that we'd probably play a lot during like the day of session 0. You know,
it would take 10-15 minutes tops. Sit down, run through the first couple pages, and that's it.
Made a mistake of petting that cat. Now it won't leave me alone. Damn cats. All right, combato. This is a game about combat, so it's good that we have combat. Rounds and turns. Hey, there are rounds and turns in this, just like other combat. Win a round. What were you gonna say? I can see the words were coming.
No, I was just like, oh my gosh, rounds and turns. It's great. It's crazy. Tabletop role playing. Yes. But yeah.
So when the round begins, all sparks take a turn in whichever order they like. There is really not a initiative, which I don't care about. I'm fine with that. There's no established order, so any spark may be the first act. During the turn, a spark can make an action, or it can move and take 1 action. So very typical, right? You can move and you can do a thing. And it lays out here what an action is, and what movement is. And an action is doing something. Using a power, or doing a thing, interacting with the world. Y'all know what doing things are. Movement isn't strictly measured. Instead, Nova uses abstract ranges during a turn. What? Movement
Y'all
allows,
know what doing things are.
Y'all know what doing things are. I'm from Texas.
That's the new tagline for the Weekly Scroll. Y'all know what doing things are.
Yeah. You do things. It's very straightforward. They're like, yeah, you understand.
You can move, you can act. Yeah.
Yeah, you can move. Allow sparks to move 1 range unit towards or away from a target. So 1 unit of range, essentially, right? And we'll get to the units of range. It's actually right under this during a turn. Because sparks are incredible pieces of technology, they can move in ways that many of us can't. That includes wall running, scaling vertical surfaces, and leaping large gaps. So yeah, if you got some shit straight up a wall shooting down at you, you can move towards it. And I am super okay with that. That sounds fucking cool.
Down with this. I feel like, and in some games I do like that. Like I've never been a power gamer.
Same. I'm definitely not either. But sometimes when the game is a power gamer game, it's like, you're just gonna go off, King. Like, okay, cool.
That's exactly how it feels. Yeah. Like I feel like this game gives you permission to just be like, just do cool shit. Yes. Like that's it. Like you will blow stuff up in a cool like exosuit. And you get to like wall jump and just shoot up vertical surfaces. Just do the coolest, most badass stuff and roll, and you'll probably get to do that thing.
Yes,
it's like I do like the freedom that it gives you to just be like, balls to the wall. Just go for it. Just go.
I think this game definitely, as we go through it, we're all going to realize that Ryan and I already have that this game achieves exactly what it's going for. And you are an OP fucking mech monster, and I'm into that shit. It's unfortunate because in the spread you can see that there is another one of those silhouettes. And you kind of see just portion of it right
wait. You know what I started doing? I also download the spread just in case. so we can.
Oh, hey,
so
spoilers,
I can flip.
bro. Go way back up there, man. You're showing them too much. We're not there yet.
But yeah. Spread looks great.
So.
Oh wait. Oh, here we go. Now I'm on the right page. I'm on the right page. On the combat page. Yes. Great piece of art right in the middle. The spread is good. Listen, you're right. I like reading in singles, but a lot of the stuff is laid out in spreads, and this book is laid out really well in spreads. It looks really good. It's laid out really well in spreads. Funny because and I think I said this like a couple episodes ago. I never read the singles. I only read the spreads. I just like having the one thing in front. So I'm all about the PDFs and the hyperlinks and stuff like that, right? Right. But there's a part of the brain, because I'm a huge book reader. I don't like reading like book readers and tablets and stuff like that. I prefer to have the physical book because I think there's something in the brain, like when you turn a page, it just makes it easy. And plus ADHD. I mean, if I can just take in like one page at a time, it really helps me absorb the information. But if I would look at this whole spread right now, it's just too much. Like I can't focus on like one part of it. So like I have to read by page. Yeah. So ranges. Back to pages. So range. And over there are 4 range units. They kind of make sense, right? You have close range, which is melee, or a few steps away. Near, standard room, short sprint away. Far, across a large hall, field, or down a long corridor. And then beyond. Anything beyond far and out of the sparks range. And I like the use of the word of beyond, because usually it's something like extra long range or something. And like that's totally sufficient. It just sounds a little lame. But for this game, it's kind of like very epic. Beyond sounds kind of tight. How far away is it? Oh yeah, it's beyond your grasp right now. So big fan.
Yeah, I am too. There's a little box here. After each spark has a turn, it's the GM's turn. While the GM has their own turn, they also describe the enemy's reactions to the spark, and that may come from consequences from any rules. And it has another little C page, page 9, but no clicky. Using powers. Powers are abilities that are unique to each spark. Each spark has 1 passive power and 4 active powers that they can activate during combat. To use one, first select a power, spend 1 fuel cost, and resolve the power based on its effect and any flare mods. Harm and health. Each character. So harm is pretty much the way that that they describe damage to your player character. We all understand what health is. Or God, I hope you do. When a character takes harm, it is subtracted from their health. Enemies at 0 are dead, period. When a spark's health reaches 0, they go supernova, in which they get to do a kick-ass super ability, which is tight as fuck, and then they essentially go dormant. They can be revived by an ally, spending an action to bring them back to half of their health and half their fuel. So it's just an action. Doesn't really cost you anything else. Sparks are incredibly powerful machines. And the chances of final death are very slim. There are no rules for killing Spark. Death should only be possible if the table decides that they want those sort of stakes in the game. If you include death, make sure that the dying Spark goes out in a blaze of glory, not unlike the destruction of the sun, which, fuck yeah, cool. I'm into this. I think it's really cool. Your character's really not supposed to die in this game. This is not what this game is about, and I'm super good with that. I have no qualms with that. But if you go down to 0, you get to do an ultimate attack. And we're going to read a couple of them. Ryan and I both picked our favorite, like Spark. And we'll read through it. And they're cool, man. Like this is a fun game. Like
it's cool.
Especially if you have a new table, if you have a brand new table. Because a lot of people sit down to a tabletop game and they want to be epic heroes immediately, which is why you get people who write backstories. They're just like, I'm the lost prince and the general of an army. It's like, well, no, you're level 1. But in this game, if you have a table of those people in this game, you can be like, yeah, man, you're a kick-ass. You're a badass. You've been living through this dark world, and you start off powerful. So yeah, whatever. You're the Lost Prince.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of this like not dying situation too, because again, it just feeds into this entire ethos of the game, which is just the point is to just be a cool fucking badass. Like,
Yeah.
And it's so much of the game, and we've talked about this before, the best games, all of the mechanics just feed back into the vibe of the game. And it's the reason we talk about like the Dragon game as being not a great game, because there's nothing about the mechanics that feeds into what the game actually is. Because if you just read it for the mechanics, all it is a combat game. Like there's nothing else for it, and it tries to play itself as an RPG. So when we can get games like this, or games like Orbital Blues is probably one of the best ones I've read, where the mechanics themselves just feed back into what the game is over and over and over again.
It is a masterpiece of game design, and for exactly that reason, it's absurdly good. But we're not talking about Orbital Blues, because I will go off on a whole ass tangent.
But what this is one that reminds me a little bit, because the rules all feed back into how the game is supposed to be and how you're supposed to feel while playing the game. Really,
and I like death in instances like this, where it's like, it's not saying that you can't kill a character at all. It's saying that there are rules for it, and that's the way the game is supposed to be played. But it gives you the chance to have like really epic moments, especially if somebody's trying to retire a character, to like have these cinematic death moments. Which, like, if it's discussed beforehand and everyone's cool with it, can be like really cool experiences. And I feel like on other games where it's like you just kill people's characters, you kind of miss out on that. But like, you can make it fucking, I mean, if you watch like a comic book, or you read a comic book, or you watch a movie where like a main character dies, like, it is not, oh yeah, the goblin just fucking killed you, man, you got a good hit and you were low on health. They're like, no, it was crazy, and there were shots firing, and you took out 30 enemies.
Half an episode of flashbacks.
Yeah.
And not to keep talking about this and Orbital Blues and the same thing, but Orbital Blues has a mechanic for that, for actually going out in your blaze of glory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
and I would enact that with this too. I'd be like, okay, cool. If you want your character to die, your character's gonna make hits, and you're gonna do double damage for the next complete combat.
For this combat. Yes. But when you supernova, you better like have ready to go. Yeah. You know, and we'll put on your soundtrack or whatever. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I think that'd be a great mechanic to use for this. So yeah.
I would give an example of a turn right here. A player's turn. Keegan is playing a pyre. The flame wreathed ruthless hunter spark. A group of enemy lunar cultists have been ignited by Ty's scorch spark. Keegan uses their move to get closer to the cultists, changing their far range to near. Then they use the pyre's finisher power. Finisher allows the pyre to deal 1 harm to every injured enemy within near range. They mark 1 fuel to activate the power and describe dashing between each cultist, the fire of their sword raging and melting them one by one. The GM notes the harm dealt, and play passes to the next spark. And there's a lot of like really epic abilities like that. So GM's turn, which we'll go over as well. After each spark has had the turn, the GM takes their turn with the following actions. 1, choose 1 enemy per spark and activate 1 of its moves or deal harm. Then describe a meaningful change to the fight, like a change in enemy tactics, arrival of reinforcements, destruction of the environment, or anything that would alter the spark's tactics the next time they act. And I really like that. It distinctly says like, hey, every round of combat should change what the next round of combat looks like. Combat's it's fun in this game. It's very epic, but it's not made to be super static. It seems like from the way they put this, like they want you to add reinforcements. They want things to change.
Absolutely. Like, especially when we go to the GM rules that you didn't read, there's a whole huge section where that's specifically what I talked about, is just like the sparks are badass. Like, if you want combat to be harder, don't just add a bunch of health, because all then you end up as bullet sponges that go for 4 hours, and but D&D combat.
No, you want to literally down.
They literally say like, bring in like a wave of reinforcements, alter the tactics. If all the sparks are over here, have the bad guys smart enough to be like, let's do this, and change the way the battlefield works. And that is what's going to make it more interesting. So yeah, like you said, round by round, have the tactics alter based on what the sparks are doing, as opposed to just like the number of times I've stood in a doorway while a bunch of bad guys stay on the other side of the doorway, and you have to just like reach in and like hit and stuff like that, and no one moves for like 20 turns. That's the opposite of this. Don't do that. So yeah, super cool.
2, generate drops. Drops are resources created by dead enemies that the sparks can use to regain health and fuel. Roll a d6 for each enemy killed. On the 1 and 2, no drop. 3 to 5, 1 fuel, and 6, 1 health. The spark should decide who wants the drops generated that round. Any drops that aren't claimed to disappear. Super video gaming, but not bad. This is a super video gaming game, so this is good.
Well, this style too is really interesting. It reminds me of the like Doom's like push forward design, where the resources you need come from killing bad guys, so it reinforces the mechanic of go kill bad guys.
Yeah, kill the bad guys.
That's the point. Yeah. So
after the GM's turn, the round ends. A new round begins. The fight continues. Whichever spark would like to act first continues the cycle of sparks to take their actions before the GM. We all get it. After the fight, once combat is over, the GM drops and mission continues. And now we get on to the fun part. I guess it's all been pretty fun, honestly. This is a fun game. It's fun to read. But character creation. When you are ready to bring a new dawn, forge your spark. So character creation is divided into 4 steps. The first is to choose a spark, your weapon of war, metal and flesh woven into one. You can find description of the spark in the following pages. Give yourself a call sign. You got like a cool little nickname, and name your squad calls you during missions. Write it on your character sheet. Take a moment to describe what your spark looks like to your squad mates. 2, program your spark. Every spark begins with a starting value of 1 for all 3 of their attributes, sun, moon, and shade. To program your spark, spend up to 4 points in total to increase your attributes. You cannot have an attribute with a starting value greater than 4, but you can have an attribute that has a start value of 3. And let me tell you, that shit's pretty powerful. Once you get to 4, you are guaranteed success almost every single time. Every spark also has starting health and fuel values of 2, spending up to 8 points in total to increase those values. Add a segment to your character sheet for each additional health and fuel. Equip flares. Each spark has a flare system to modify themselves. Flares are mods that provide ongoing benefits to change the way a spark power works. Choose any 2 flare mods and add them to your character sheet. More information on flares, page 29. And create your pilot. Your pilot is who you are when you're not wearing your spark. Describe what your pilot looks like to your squad mates and write their name and pronouns on your character sheet. Shout out them for write your pronouns and shout out like all tabletop like scenes that become more inclusive. I feel like that's important, even if it's a small thing. What's next? To jump right into a mission, see page 35. For rules on creating missions, see 61. And then for an example mission, page 30. And now we get to look at the cool, exosuits essentially.
So who did you pick for your classes?
The Voyager.
And I picked the Sanguine.
Sure.
So, but you read through all of them, right?
I read through several of them. I didn't read the Sanguine or Grim because I knew that you would be into those, and they're just not really my style.
But obviously Pox and Grim and Sanguine and Infernal, those are my things. What I really liked, the first 4 classes, because I would be surprised. I mean, I don't know if they wrote them if Spencer wrote them in order, but I'm 100% positive the first 4 written are the first 4 that were written, because if you look at Pyre, who is the first scout to return to Scourge to the darkness of the dusk, telling stories about blah blah blah. Pyre, you deal strong single target damage complemented by high mobility, and the art is gorgeous. The art is stunning. I mean,
super cool.
It's an exosuit wielding a flame katana with like a fist of fire. So
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so cool though. And then so that's Pyre, right? And then we'll go over the abilities and stuff next. But then there's Scorch, another beautiful piece of art. This one's like very purple. There's like a wrap around them. There's these like tendrils coming off of it. But if you read their little blurb, part of the blurb at the bottom, you set the battlefield on fire. While your primary goal is to burn out your enemies, you help the team stay fueled up and ready to fight. Continuing on, then you get Voyager, which is one of the ones that you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
As a Voyager, you support your squad by marking enemies, allowing you and your allies to devastate them. The Voyager manipulates and controls the battlefield in lieu of all-out damage. And then you get the Warden. And as a Warden, you're a defender and a bully on the battlefield. You help allies to endure incoming damage while charging across the dusk ready to shoot out a challenge. Those 4 classes that started up, at their heart, are the 4 classic classes that were really, I'm sure they existed before 4E, but are the main focus of 4E classes.
Right.
Because Pyre is your striker, Scorch is your supporter or leader, I prefer the term supporter, Voyager is your controller, and Warden is your defender. So those are literally the 4 basic classes of the 4 classic party. And I thought that was really cool that they started with those 4, using specifically designing characters not just to be cool, but to have specific purposes. Yeah, and that really struck me as like really cool and interesting. Did you?
That makes a lot of sense,
right? And then I feel like Pox and Grim and Sanguine and stuff like that were added on after. Is just like badass cool. Like, for us edgelords. Who did you pick for your Spark Voyager that you like the most?
Listen,
do you want to start with Voyager then?
I'm not an edgelord. I love battlefield controllers. It's like that, and like, that's my kind of magic. You know what I'm saying? So, the Voyager, and you have this really cool. It looks super cool. I like that. I really like the art, and it looks like a character that I would pick if I was playing a game. Like I would pick this character because I'm a little scouty boy. I'm a little scouty. Yeah. I'm a mark you and then hit you harder type of guy.
I really love the face on this one with that kind of like, it's like it's looking back over its shoulder and the eyes are just kind of glowing. Yeah. Since its whole purpose, it's like go out there into the dark and like mark stuff and come back and stuff like that. And the color on this, that like blue-green color too, with like the dark and the red. It has
downplayed fire compared to some of the other
Well, Pyre is literally
the Pyre is just fucking Pyre. So,
but the art, the character art throughout this is ridiculous. So well done. Yeah.
So Voyager, the first Spark ever created. The Voyager is designed for quick movement and stealth, built for reconnaissance and scouting missions. The dusk is a constantly shifting abyss, and without the Voyagers, we wouldn't have a clue what we were dealing with. It takes a special soul to want to walk into the unknown. As a Voyager, you support your squad by marking enemies, allowing you and your allies to devastate them. The Voyager manipulates and controls the battlefield in lieu of all-out damage. So very much my cup of tea. I don't hit very hard, but I do fuck some things up. I do be making it worse for the bad guys. So the passive ability is marked. Using your advanced tracking system, find your foes. At the start of your turn, mark any 2 enemies. Marks remain until they have been used, but do not stack. So you basically mark 2 when you get into combat. Then we get to the active powers. Your first one's going to be Seek. Micro explosives are sent hurling through the air. Choose 1 marked enemy. They take +1 harm from all sources until the start of the next round. Target loses mark. So you get to like make their time worse. Any damage they're going to take is going to be way worse. So if you have like, your Pyre who's going after somebody, I'm like, well, cool. I'm gonna seek that person. They're about to get fucked up right now. Destroy. Fire a salvo of homing explosive. Every marked enemy takes 2 harm. Target loses mark. Hollow Spark. Deploy a decoy spark at up to near range. Marked enemies will target the decoy. Hollow Spark ends at the end of the round. Affected enemies will lose their mark. Swap. Feel the quantum pull as your suit begins to phase. Switch positions with a marked enemy within near or far range. Target loses mark. So I really like this. You mark an enemy, and like depending on the situation, you can treat this a lot differently. With Destroy is really cool because you can blanket, right? You can blanket, hit a bunch of marks, and as like later on, you can actually get more marks. So you hit like a bunch of enemies. But if we're facing one person who's like a super badass, you can swap places with them, and you can use Hollow Spark to make sure they don't attack you. And then you can use Seek to make sure that big badass enemy is taking 1+ damage from everybody. And I really like the versatility tactically that you could use this for.
I mean, it's so well written as a controller, because controller's primary job
it's a great controller.
Controller's primary job is to spread damage across the battlefield, but also control the field. And the fact that you can force enemies to hit one target, you can swap at the target, like you're really controlling the whole field. And one of the things I really like too is with Seek. Part of the reason a game like this, I personally like initiative order, but that's because of the style of game that, like, if I were to make one, what it would be like. It matters a lot less in this because it feels like a lot of the things that you can do with your powers can happen on other people's turns too. So it's kind of like one whole scene, as opposed to who cares like what order you go in. Because like Seek, for example, activates when someone else hits them, and it's like you're shooting out these like micro things while someone else is doing something, which is cool as like one whole scene together, which is really neat. So
so as running this game, I would definitely describe it as like a contiguous, like, it's not you acted, it's an epic battle scene where everything's happening at once, like actual like real life. Supernova, so the supernova ability, SOS salvo, fire off a solar shard for each point of moon you have. Shards can hit any range and deal 2 harm each. So if you have a high moon score, which makes sense because this is a sneaky boy. He's a very agile boy. Sorry, not sneaky, but agile. I guess he's kind of sneaky too. But yeah, so have a high moon score.
And the supernova is when you hit 0. This is your death move.
Yeah, the supernova is when you hit 0. Your death. You know, you're not gonna die though. There are a bunch of persistent mods, and a lot of these have persistent mods that kind of like line up with each other. They're all very not the same but similar. You know, they boost a couple stats. They boost your fuel, your health. My favorite one with this one. Actually, I have 2 favorites. I'm gonna read those 2. The first is sonar for persistent mods, which you may mark 3 enemies now instead of 2, which is great because you can control 3 instead of 2. And the next one's study, which marked enemies do -1 harm to you. So even if they do 1 harm, they don't do any because they do -1. And I love that.
I think it's interesting too. I mean, there's a huge list of mods. So like for those in podcast land, in each persistent and power section, basically the left side is like bonuses to like cyclical +1 moon, +1 moon, +1 like cool is +1 shade, things like that. So those are like boosts to what you have, and then you get these abilities on the right side, because we'll get to it a little bit later, but there's really no advancement. All you do is unlock more mods so that you can like craft your suit a little bit better. And it's just really interesting kind of like how simple this is, but also how many options and how many ways you could, like how many different builds you could make with this. Like, you could completely change the way he works, like entirely based on some of these mods. Yeah.
And the power mods, so the persistent mods mod your character's overall stats. The power mods actually mod your abilities. And I'm just gonna pick 2 of my favorite ones from this one instead of just reading all of them. Let's see. I think Hard Light Hollow and then Matchmaker are my favorites from this. Hard Light Hollow, Hollow Spark. So when you set down your hologram, that things are like that your marked enemy has to attack that now. It explodes, dealing 1 harm to all close enemies and marking them. So it costs a mark to use this, but like it explodes and anything nearby gets marked. And personally, I would say that if there are 4 enemies around it, I would say all 4 of them are marked. If I was the game master, because that's fair. And then my second favorite one is Matchmaker, which is you just can switch places with allies instead of yourself when you do the swap ability. And I like that because I want to control the battlefield. I want to move around a lot. And that allows me to have 1 extra, like, you can switch places with fucking anybody now, man. And it's cool.
Wait. Doesn't it say that you can switch the target with an ally? So basically you can switch a bad guy with an ally.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
I misread that. That's okay. I still think that's cool.
That's super cool, because what if you have a guy that's like out there getting hit by like 3 dudes and you targeted this guy, you just swap their dude in with that guy and get your guy the fuck out of there. That's cool.
The point being, I just want more control over the battlefield, like movement. And like kind of when you talk about battlefield control, and I didn't talk about the certain abilities, but there's really 4 ways to do it, right? There's like there's debuffs, there are like blanket AoEs, there is like the hollow spark, like forcing an attack on a thing, and then like changing positions in the battlefield. Like I feel like those are very major tenets of battlefield control, and this kind of hits. I mean, it does hit all of them.
It does. It's a really well written controller. Yeah, like they definitely learn like, okay, what are the tenets of a controller? Let me build one for this and be a badass exosuit when they did it, and it's good. It's just good.
Yeah.
This and the other ones are good too.
Fun to play, especially because it sounds like in these battles you just have like a lot of enemies, and so it sounds like this is just like there's no limit on using the mark like ability, right? Like you can use it again and mark more enemies after your marks are gone. You know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then if you read through again, that was the controller of the 4 classics. If you read Pyre the Striker, and Scorch the Supporter, and Warden the Defender. They're all just as well written for like those like archetypal like classes.
Yes.
But I did not pick one of those. I picked one of the bonus kind of like, and I think after.
Actually, that's perfect because we picked one of the ones that's very archetypal, that's very like familiar to us, and now we'll pick one that, I mean, we've all experienced something like it. But for you edgelord boys, you know, for you guys who want to, you know, wear all black all the time and be upset.
Listen, I'm too old to be an edgelord now, but you never fully let it go. You know what I mean?
You're never too old to be an edgelord.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not as bad as I was 10 years ago. But I like all of these in ones, obviously, because Pox is really cool. Pox is basically like a plague spreader, which is cool. Right. It uses viruses and shit, which I really enjoy. I mean, like the Patient Zero Supernova, again, read it if you want it, get the book, get the thing. It's really cool. Obviously, I love Grim as well. Grim is designed basically as a necromancer. They literally raise the dead as thralls. Super fucking cool. Love that.
Sorry, what? That's a great one.
You had to read the whole book, man. And the art is gorgeous. And
I got distracted by the great art. Oh no, I didn't read Grim because I thought you were going to do Grim. I was like, yeah,
no. Had to go Sanguine.
I like the Drifter as well.
Oh my god, the Drifter's cool, but the Grim art, going back to it, there's these like floating lights that look like swords, and then they actually are like stabbed through like people walking behind the exosuit, so they look kind of like quasi zombie exosuit-ish. Such a cool piece of art. But yeah, Drifter's really cool. It's exactly what you think it is. It's an old school, like, shoot 'em up. I mean, it literally has like 6 shooters in their hands. It's like Cade 6, straight up fucking Drifter. And all the abilities are like hip fire and stuff like that. There's the one that I'm going to go over, so I'll skip that for a second. And then the final of the classes is called the Infernal, which is probably the most like OP-ish.
Look at this. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's absolute monster,
dude, and the art is just absolutely stunning. I mean, it's got all of these like floating, it's hard to even describe it. It's just badass. Like, it's definitely got this quasi demon exo suit situation. And it basically said demon Infernal locks down the battlefield, condemning denizens of the dusk with fire and brimstone. Super badass. It has names like Damnation and Hellfire and Banish, and it's just really cool. I almost went with that one, but I went with Sanguine instead, because I'll tell you, at the end of the day, I'll always go with blood and vampire stuff. So the Sanguine, another beautiful...
I do respect that choice, you know?
Oh, yeah. Another beautiful piece of art, and what's really cool, it's got this like kind of blood splatter looking effect across a lot of it, and all of the character art has some piece of like glowing light tech on it, it looks like. And the Sanguines are these claws, these glowing red claws that are just stunning. And there's this like cloak wrapped around it. It's really badass. So for the Sanguine, sparks are able to regularly refuel in the dusk by breaking down their enemies, but only one can completely repair themselves. The Sanguine spark drains the life force from those out in the dusk, ripping it from their bodies and using it to fuel their own macabre powers. Just no vampire jokes. They've heard them all already. As a Sanguine, you toe the line between supporting your fellow squad mates and dealing devastating damage with your blood blade. You rest easy knowing that your spark will always come back in a blood-fueled fury. Of course I picked this one. So the passive on this is called Bloodborne.
This is so the one that you would fucking pick, you know?
Of course it is.
I don't know why I thought you were going to do Grim or something else. I think you told me there was a couple you were thinking about, and I was like, he's going to do Grim.
Yeah, I think my favorite, if I had to pick a top 3, it would be Grim, Sanguine, and Infernal. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So the passive ability for this is Bloodborne. Your blood is just another resource to you. You may spend 1 health when using a power to activate its blood effect. I love... Nice. And the other reason is, like, in all of the games that I play, like, I don't generally, like, I don't play those 4, like, of the 4 classic types. I think I always try to find the one that's like not one of those. So like right. I love blood mages and stuff like that. Like I love blood magic and stuff. Like Midgard has really great blood magic. I love the concept of like hurting yourself to hurt others more kind of thing. And that's exactly what this is. So with the Bloodborne ability, you use health when using a power to activate a blood effect instead of just your fuel. So you use 1 fuel and 1 health, and you can use a bonus effect. So the 4 active powers are Transfusion, Life, like all things can be traded away. Choose 2 targets close to each other. You transfer 1 health from one to the other. And with the blood effect, you transfer health equal to your son instead.
Interesting.
So it says 2 targets. So what I'm thinking is if there's a bad guy next to an ally, I can transfer. Bad guy's still better than the ally. I'm like, it's not anymore, bro. Yeah. So if I use 1 power and 1 health, I can send my son's worth of health from the bad guy to the good guy. So, hurt myself to help others. Siphon, pull the life force right from your foes, deal 1 harm to 1 enemy within close range, and gain 1 health. Blood effect affects all close enemies. So if I deal 1 harm to all close enemies, I get health back. I get 1 health back from all those enemies. So if I'm surrounded by 3, boom, 3 health. And I used 1, so I get 2.
Jesus, man.
Right?
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
Blood Blade, lash out with whirling talons made of your own blood, which is in the art. I like that. Lose 1 health and deal 1 harm to every enemy within close range. With the blood effect, I deal harm equal to my shade instead. So if I lose 2 health, I deal harm equal to my shade to all of close enemies. And Cauldron, burst into a swarm of bats and move to any location within far range. Deal 1 harm to all close enemies at the location, and blood effect, deal harm equal to your moon. This is probably the only ability that I'm not the biggest fan of, because there's parts in the book where it's just like, don't worry about the science, it's fine. But an exosuit bursting into a swarm of bats, I can't think of science that really makes that work for me. It's cool as fuck. It's cool as fuck, and I'll take it. Because this, I think, fits more into like the horror aspect of it. And there is a part in the gym section where he says, like, you could definitely push this into a horror section to go with it. But that one does, where I'm just like, it's cool as shit. Don't get me wrong.
The Infernal's like supernova ability is like, yeah, everything around you gets dragged to hell. Or whatever it is. It's like, sure.
Yeah, I'll take it. Listen, it's cool as shit. I'll take it. But that was the one where I was just like, that one's just a bit of a stretch more than the other ones. And then the supernova ability for the Sanguine is the Undead. You lock down, surrounding yourself with a steel coffin. There's no effect on death, but you resurrect at the start of the next round without requiring aid from an ally. You activate Siphon when you do. Doing this uses your action, and you may only move on your turn. So normally, when you hit 0 hit points, you immediately go supernova, and you have this badass ability, but it takes an ally's action to revive you. With Sanguine Supernova, you activate on your own, and you activate Siphon when you come back. So anything around you, you can pull health in. So if there's anyone around you when you come back, boom, you got health. So, and then persistent mods and power mods, I'll just pick my top 2 from both, just like you did. I'm not going to pick the first 2. Those are really easy. Reborn, gain the blood effect from Siphon with your supernova. So the blood effect is, it affects all close enemies, not just one. And then mobile grave, you may resurrect anywhere within near of where you died. Don't you just resurrect right where you died anyway, though? Did you mute yourself, bro?
No, what are you talking about? So you can change your positioning, essentially.
Oh, okay. Those are mutes in the chat for you. I just threw those mutes out there. And then the power mods. Probably, I love refreshing. If you kill with Siphon, you may immediately activate another power. You must still pay the fuel to do so, right?
Really? You just chain the power. Hell yeah.
Both of the last are really cool. I'll just talk about them both. So Honed Blood, lose any number of health to deal that number of harm with Bloodblade. So you can basically sack as much as you want, but like you could siphon and immediately comes back. Warpath is cool. Cauldron, which is when you turn into bats.
Right.
But again, I don't know why it's called Cauldron. It should just be called like Swarm or something. Regardless, Cauldron deals 1 harm to all enemies in the movement path. So turn into a swarm of bats, and anything in your path deals damage, 1 harm on the way, and then also the damage at the end. So yeah, love me some Sanguine. It's really cool. And those are the sparks. That's all of them. Really cool. I love them. Again, I love that there are the 4 standard kind of like archetypes, and then like another 4 like super. Not all edgelord. Drifter's not. But yeah. Did you want to take a quick break before we hit into the rest of the stuff?
I'm down.
Cool. All right. So then we will be back in just one moment, everybody.
We're never coming back.
Ever. Hello, and we are back on the Weekly Scroll podcast here, reviewing Nova from Gila RPGs. Spencer Campbell.
And we're obviously enjoying this so far. I don't know if y'all can tell this is one of those episodes where we're reading it and we're like, this shit's fucking cool, bro. This is a good idea. I like this.
I like this. The next part we're going to go over is Flare. Every spark fits a personality of their pilot. When a pilot decides which spark calls to them, they program them to fit their methods. The Flare system is a collection of mods that can be earned.
Flare, you know?
That's what, dude, that's all I can think about the whole time. I'm like, I love this. I love it. But like Flare, all I think of is just like being like, just like the exosuit with like suspenders just sticking that. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, so the Flare system is basically a collection of mods, and that's pretty much all you get for like advancement. Is just unlocking more mods. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but there's 2 types, and we did discuss them a little bit already. There's persistent mods, which are ongoing passive benefits, like health, fuel, and things that bump your attributes, and then there's power mods, which are applied directly to powers, increasing their effectiveness. So basically you start with 2 or how many do we start with per character?
I've already forgotten. I'm scrolling up right now. Hold on. I got it. I think it's 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2 too. As sparks unlock more Flare mods, they will note them on their sheet. The collection shows all the mods that they have access to. 2 each or 2 total?
2 total. 2 Flare mods. Choose any 2 Flare mods and add them to your character sheet.
And then you can swap out and install mods at the beginning of a mission. And then that's what I said already, the advancement. The Flare system is how sparks advance their characters. After a mission, you unlock 1 Flare mod for your class. Basically, every mission you get a new mod. And unlocked mods should be added to the character sheet for reference. So we talked about this before, you know, and we were just saying that there are just a shitload of mods. It looks like there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 persistent and 10 power mods, and you get 2 total. So there's 20 to pick from. You get 2 total. So you could theoretically go on 18 missions before you unlock all of your mods. And then there's so many different ways to put the passive and power mods together to build entirely new builds. And that's one thing that I know, you know, Destiny is a game that I do enjoy, that it's a looter shooter, but D1, the classes were much more, they had a lot more going on, and you could create different builds and change how the class worked a little bit more.
Destiny 2 wasn't that good?
No, it sucks. But
that's really fun.
But I liked it better when you can mix and match and create different kind of subclasses almost within your class. And this kind of gives you that ability to mix and match your mods, persistent and power, to almost build subclasses within the exos. Because you and I could build 2 completely different Voyagers that run completely differently, really easily.
Yeah, mine will be better. Mine will actually be good.
Yeah, because you're a good controller. I'm a bloody boy. That's what I gotta go with. Do you want to take session 0?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Session 0, during your first session of playing Nova, you may want to spend some time establishing details about the setting in order to ground your mission and campaign in a world that you know. You don't need to go through all of these steps during session 0, but you and your group should always discuss expectations before jumping into a game. Establish your safety tools. We are all about safety tools. We don't usually read big detail because they're always in every game. In the first 8 episodes, we did read in the detail about safety tools. But read your safety tools. Talk about stuff with your players. There should be a discussion. You should know what your players are comfortable with, even if you've known them for years. If you're sitting at a table with them, you should know where the line is for stuff. And if you are going to do a dark horror setting that's going to be horrifying and have a lot of really dark elements, you should touch base with your crew and be like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about putting in my game. How do you feel? But yeah, safety tools, fantastic. Campaign length and GM role. A typical session of Nova can be as short as an hour. And I think that's fucking sick. And is meant to be captured to capture the excitement of going on a dangerous mission and then wrapping up. There is no official length of a campaign for Nova, but your group should discuss how long you want to play the game. You may find that you all have different expectations and you will want to make sure you're on the same page. One of you will need to be the GM each session, though that doesn't have to be the same person every time. Given the mission focus of style of Nova, each session can have a different person as a GM. And I think that's fucking awesome. You could really easily round table this game, and you won't be stuck being the forever GM because, I know a lot of us like to be the forever GM, but I don't. So, I think it's really cool. I think the discussion on length is also really important. I don't know how often anyone actually does that because I forget to very often, but a lot of times players want to play much longer or much shorter than I do because I don't want to play a 2-year campaign. You know
that I'm in a over 2-year campaign right now, right?
I know, and I've been more power to you, buddy.
Here's the thing: I can't wait for it to end. I'm very excited to be done. I love it. It was great. 2 years is too long.
I would consider doing a year campaign if I didn't have to be the GM. Period.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Right. Okay. Creating your sparks. If you haven't already done so, you should build your spark. Duh. Process of making the characters very quick. You create your character. We already know over creating your character. We'll go over to the next page to create your city.
I do love the city art though at the bottom of that page.
This city art is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And you can see the sun shard sticking out.
Dude,
of the ground.
Exactly. All throughout the city, the sun shards are just going up, and you can imagine the sun wells underneath because all the city is built around the sun wells at the base of these sun shards, and the size of the cities are based on the sun shards. So you see these 3 massive sun shards shooting up into the sky, and clearly a decent sized city based on the size of these shards. I love, first of all, that the artist, it's not it was clearly designed for this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no public domain art or anything like that, which is totally fine. But for this, it's this is so specifically exactly what you expect. So I love it.
Hell yeah. Creating your city. Now you've made sparks and have met each other. We kind of skipped over, but there are some there's a greeting part under the creating your spark, how to greet each other. But y'all have talked. You've been people before.
You've been people before.
You should discuss the city that they're based out of. Every Spark Squad is assigned to a city, and establishing some facts about your location will help personalize the missions you go on. You don't need to figure out everything during session 0, which is a good rule for pretty much any game you play. Just get a baseline of the city and build it up over time. And that's a great way to pretty much do anything if you play tabletop games. You don't need to create every detail the moment you start playing the game because your characters are going to dictate a lot of those details. Start by deciding how large the settlement is. Sprawling metropolises can be found wrapped around the large sun shards, while smaller shards create a smaller and more intimate town. What size city are you located in? What's its name? I could see this. You could almost establish a Western horror we're a small town around a shard, and you're the fucking sheriff, just dealing with these like dark of the world horrors. I don't know. That's how
Nova Casket Land.
Yeah, Nova Casket. Like, yes, absolutely.
You could easily do that. And drifters, dude. You just run 4 drifters.
Everyone's a fucking drifter.
Everyone's a drifter.
All right, next, establish some of the key people, factions, and other organizations in the city. Go around and have each spark describe one person that they know.
Yeah,
fuck yeah,
I know a guy. It's the I know a guy. I love the I know a guy.
Yes. I know a guy is an optional rule that I add to everything, even if it's not in that thing. Because
daggers and I know a guys. Yeah.
Yes. That is personally connected to their pilot and important to the city in each way. After have each spark describe one influential faction or organization that they're connected to. Fuck yes. I am very about this collaborative thing because it helps ground characters and it helps your player characters care about the world and the game because they're intrinsically tied to it. With each person and group established, players should feel free to ask follow-up questions. You don't need to have all of the details, but you'll find the connections to one another and the city building as these people are further explored. Fuck yeah, super cool. I know a lot of game systems that we all start in don't necessarily push for this type of collaborative play or collaborative world building, but you should. If you are a game master, especially a new game master, let your player characters decide details. Let them make it people that they know, 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever, and a faction that they have some sort of dealing with, because it will keep you from having to do everything, which is maybe the most important part. And then second, they're tied to the world now and they have a stake in stuff. It's their world as well. Also, being a game master should be a fucking fun activity and not a chore. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and like you just said, like, it's just those 2 things. Like, don't make yourself do all the work and make your players invested. It makes your job so much easier across the board. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Yeah.
Cool.
The Dusk.
While the Dusk itself is largely unknown, the Sparks have some experience with it. Have each Spark describe a recent or memorable mission they have gone on, and what did they see out in the Dusk? Fantastic. Continue with the collaborative thing. Really into this. As a group, discuss which elements of the Dusk you're most interested in exploring. Do you want to focus on mapping and tracking the shifting wastelands, establishing convoys and trade lines between the few remaining cities, or even seeking out the lunar shards to do with what you will? Very cool. I'm still very much into this. First mission. You're all ready to go on your first mission. You'll find rules for creating and running missions in the next section. Ryan, you want to do missions?
Sure. So, missions. Sparks is deployed on missions to defend the remaining sun shards and the last havens of humanity. Basically, there's a lot of different missions, but each mission has 3 phases: briefing, deployment, and debriefing. Basically,
I think you answered.
It does a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Very much so, actually. So basically, you get to hear about the mission is, you get to go on the mission, and then you get to talk about the mission at the end. So briefing is when the GM presents the mission, and the GM and players work together to determine the stakes, which is something I really like. It includes the briefing includes the essentials. So the location, enemy factions, and primary objective. After doing so, the GM asks the Sparks 2 questions to set the stakes of the mission. What will the city gain if the mission is successful, and what fallout will the city face if the mission fails? I really like that. That it's not just like a go do this thing just cuz. Like, there's actually stakes involved, which are really important, especially in a game like this, because realistically, there's nothing else that you're really fighting for. There's no gold, there's no XP, there's no real advancement. So the story is what you have to build investment with. And we've already talked just a second ago about how you collaboratively build the world together, so that since it's the world that you built with people that you know / created in it, the fallout will affect you and your creations, which is, the stakes will, which is great. I just think this is such a good way to tie it all in. Once the stakes are set, the Sparks may change any of their installed flare mods. And then that's it. You can only change your mods before or after missions. You can't do them on a mission. So your mods are your mods when you head out. Once everyone has their flare mods in place, it's time to deploy. Deployment is where most of the gameplay takes place. It's literally the mission that you go on. That is what deployment is. It's playing the game. And then in debriefing, the Sparks regain all of their health and fuel. They advance, improving the character, which is basically just getting more mods. And then you can reflect on the outcome of the mission. You first look at the stakes that were established during briefing. If the mission was a success, take some time to collaboratively describe what success looks like. So what changes can be found? How can the people of the city have been affected by this mission? If it was a failure, how is that reflected in the city? How are the Sparks perceived when they return? After the stakes are addressed, the Sparks may spend some downtime in the city. Piloting Sparks is hard and dangerous work, and they'll want to decompress after that intense session. I like the idea of running, like if you're doing like a 3-hour session, it might take 20-30 minutes to sit down, stop bullshitting, get to your briefing, do your mission an hour and a half, and have at least like 30 minutes at the end to like debrief. And then I would love at the end of every session to just like I would like to have, if I were going to do this, like a bar in the city. And like at the end of each mission, like go to the bar in the city and just like in character just bullshit. Maybe even crack a real beer at the table, and it is like not only debrief in game, but like kind of debrief in and out of game kind of, and have like a wind down to the end of the session. I can imagine that like being like a routine thing at the end of everyone, just being like cool, like not only like goodbye, like if you're leaving the game, like leaving the person's house, almost do it in character kind of, and just be like when you head out from the bar, you just kind of go kind of situation. I think that'd be really cool. In this time between missions, Sparks have the opportunity to reflect on their work. There are no rules for downtime, but some things you might do between missions. There's a good list here. Help the locals, gather intel, customize and work on your Spark, connect with friends and family, blow off steam, or make the city more like home. Again, I really like that. I think it's really well done. And then creating missions is pretty cool. There's a lot of cool role tables here. So GMs use the following tables and guidelines for creating their own missions, rolling the tables to randomize them. There are 3 zones in the Dusk. The first decision is deciding which zone of the Dusk the mission is taking place in. You can roll a d6 if you want. 1 to 2 is the Crimson, 3 to 5 is the Dusk, and 6 is the Umbral. So the Crimson, this is kind of like, I kind of would define these as like easy, medium, and hard missions. I think they're in the book, they define that too. There's even like stage levels of health, like pools for bad guys. So the Crimson is the area just beyond the light of the city. As in there's still a little bit of light, as in Crimson. It is the least dangerous to explore. The cities with an eyesight, and most of the big bads know that this ain't the place to be. The Dusk is the biggest part of the darkness, and it is where most of the battle like takes place beyond the city. Voyagers regularly come out of this region to attempt to map it. But the Dusk is always shifting. And then there is the Umbral. It is a region that few are even aware of. It's the deepest part of the Dusk, the unmapped regions, and it represents the most dangerous part of the world, the places Sparks rarely travel to. It is dangerous and unpredictable missions at best, and a living nightmare at worst. And it even says it here, zones also provide a recommended difficulty for locations. Basically, you can... Yeah, right. So there's no dice rolled for the health on this, which I love. I'm a huge fan of that. All of the enemy health is just assigned. So with this, you can actually create a pool of health units. You can almost like do like a point by army, like units, basically. Yeah. And then put them, like scatter them throughout your mission. So it recommends the health pool for Crimson mission bad guys is 50. Dusk is 75 to 100, and Umbral is 125 or more. Again, I think that's a really cool way to do it. I think because you're not going to die in this game. Having these, and if you notice, like Dusk is 75 to 100, and Umbral is only 125. It's not that much more. Right. But I feel like you can just get bigger. You can buy in bigger bad guys with that, which makes more interesting battles.
You're gonna have a fucking mega boss at the end of one of them, you know?
And then there are
I'm gonna make Umbral 125 health is all gonna go to one.
one guy. Exactly.
One ultra baddie, you know?
Yeah. Mission types. There are 4 primary types of missions: assault, recon, supply, and support. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. Don't really need to go over those. So then you get to these roll tables that are really cool. Again, I wish you could click on these to cross-reference. So you can roll a d6 for a mission type. 1 is assault, 2 is recon, 3 is supply, 4 is support, 5 is GM's choice, 6 is roll twice, use both. Love that. Then there are enemy factions that you can roll that we'll go over here shortly. Hellions, Corvus Dominion, Haze Dwellers, Lunar Cultists. Roll again plus an elite, or roll twice, use both. Love that. And then a big chunk of the book is making missions, and I really like that.
And I really like it. They give you a lot of really cool tools. They lay out like what the different types of missions would look like, and what, you know, I really like this. I like that it takes a lot of the plan. I love being a GM, don't get me wrong, but fuck, I hate planning. I spend all my time planning. And anything that gives you tools is like, no, we're just gonna take a bunch of the time away from your planning and just give you tools. Amazing. And this gives you really great tools for building everything, you know?
Everything. You could roll everything about the mission, because it even gives you like the things that you can do on a mission. So you could literally just basically, all you would have to do is just decide how much of the health pool is used at each location. That's about it.
Yeah.
It's great. And again, because the players help you build the world when you start, and then you just basically roll the mission up, like you just said, rules light, prep light game of just badassery, digging it at like more and more, not more and more, we've already read it, but yeah. So assault missions are the bread and butter of Sparks. The dusk get filled with an endless supply of threats. Go fight stuff. And then again, it's a roll table for who you're attacking, which is, you know, all the factions that we talked about: Hellions, Corvus Dominion. There are assault variants, which are really cool. I like this too. Another d6. 1 to 2 is halt, which is prevent further enemy movement. 3 to 4 is eliminate, which is remove the threat entirely. And 5 to 6 is expel, which is drive the enemy away. Really like the variants. Recon is exactly what it sounds like. You are going out and scouting important locations. There's a d6 for what you're searching for: resources, locations, secret, sun shards, enemy base, or VIP. Recon variants are monitor, which is stay hidden and do not engage. Infiltrate, which is stealth and priority, leave no trace. And 5 to 6 is capture, which is locate an important faction. Again, like the just rolling 2d6s there, you could get a different recon mission every single time.
Yes.
And you're rolling to decide if it's even a recon mission. Supply missions. Not all missions require you to forge deep into the darkest parts. Sometimes you work at home. Highly trained Spark pilots are capable of a great many things. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
What is this? What does the city need? So basically you don't venture out into the Crimson or the Dusk or anything. You do things around the city. Mercenary work, negotiations, training, maintenance or repairs, pest control, communications. I like pest control because that could sound like something small and turn into something bigger, which is really cool.
Yeah,
like
really could.
So the variants are fortify, which is strengthen the city's defenses. I feel like the supply missions are a lot more RP based, which is, I'm totally down to have a full RP session. Great way to break it up. 3 to 4 is recover. An important item is lost and must be found. You are Naruto, go get that cat. 5 to 6 relay requires movement of people or supplies. And then the final mission type is support. A well-timed spark deployment can be the difference between life and death in the dusk. Sparks may find themselves helping a great many people in a great many places. So who are you helping? Nearby city, cherished place, your city, enemy faction, wanderers, or other sparks. And don't forget, a spark group of sparks is assigned to each city. So your group is the sparks in that city. So if you run into other sparks, they're other sparks from other cities, which is cool.
I love that in video games, I hate escort missions, but in tabletop RPGs, I actually really enjoy them. They're much, I don't know why they're less annoying in a TTRPG than like in a video game, but they are, you know?
Well, because in the video game, it's basically like any RP, quote unquote, in the video game is you just being like, okay, get me through the dialogue box, you know?
Yes.
But in this one, you are the dialogue box. So, The support variants are a convoy, which is escorting convoy, defense, which is protecting a location, or bolster, which is assisting an assailed party. I really like the bolster one. I like the idea of coming to a table and like sitting down like you're gonna play, and then as a GM, I would just be like, but like right into the briefing, just be like, you gotta go now. Like these people are under attack. Let's go. And they're just like, fucking, what are my flares? I'm picking these two, and we're out. And you're literally like just shooting to like a group of sparks or something or nearby city that's already under attack. So this like assist an assailed party thing, I think that'd be a cool way to just do like a hot start, like a hot drop. So the other thing that I really like about this is it's when you're reading through a game and you can just be like, I can imagine this. I could totally see doing that. And so many parts in this I've been like, dude, this is how I would do it. I love this. This is and that's a really cool way to do it. Next, we're getting into locations. Do you want to take our locations?
Yeah.
Or I can keep going. Doesn't matter.
No, you're fine. I've been quietly dealing with a work issue and no one's noticed. So. No, I'm good. I actually just finished dealing with it. Perfect.
There you go.
Fuck my job. Not really. If you're listening to this and I work with you, I love my job. I actually do like it. But location. But it's just it's not like I don't like it. It's just that it goes on all the time. A location is where the narrative of the mission takes place. Encountering enemies is commonplace. A location has two parts. One is a theme. Give the location personality. As well as moves for the GM to call on reinforcements, the tone of the location. Wait, I read that weird. Give the location its personality as well as moves for the GM to call on to reinforce the tone of the location. There we go. I read that like a person.
There you go.
I've been a person before. Structure. Specific locations that can be explored, providing locales and scene prompts for the GM. So create a place, give it some features so you know what the place looks like and feels like. When creating locations for missions, you must consider the zone it is taking place in. Obviously, the three zones are much different in kind of their like feel. Each zone has a different combination of themes and structures. Crimson missions take place near the city, and so I've simplified the locations. A location here is made of a single theme and structure. Dusk missions require travel and navigation. They have a single theme, but transition from one structure to another at some point. Umbral missions. I just like that's, missions create unexplainable situations for the sparks, and so are a combination of two themes and a single structure. So actually, it has a nice little table here. Crimson is theme plus structure. Dusk is theme plus structure, transition structure. Umbral is theme plus structure. Themes provide the personality and tone of the location. Each theme has a list of moves that the GM may use at any time during the mission to reinforce the feel of that location, which is a fantastic tool. Fantastic tool for describing stuff, especially on days where you might be a tired GM and like being creative is kind of hard to do, which has happened to all of us. You don't have to, they'll give you fucking stuff to deal with. So theme table. I don't think we really rolled very much this episode. Do you want to roll? Do you have a dice roller up?
Sure. I can roll. Yeah. It takes me half a second to get a dice roller. Oh, there it is. D6.
D6.
It's going to be a 4.
So 4. We've got Ravaged. So we're going to go down to the Ravaged table. Wave of Destruction. We've got Ruin, Defile, Scream, Hunt, Trample, and Reap.
Let's see. I got a 5.
Trample. So this wave of destruction, whatever it is, tramples the ground before you, or like however you would describe it. It's just descriptor words,
I love that. But they're so good, and they're all good. Dark, like pale, fortified, wild, ravaged, radiant, grotesque, and then more words within that. Like you can easily. This is what I'm talking about. Like instead of starting from scratch, being able to just be like, give me a little something and I'll run all day with it. And this is the perfect example of it.
Yeah, in Crimson, if we were in Crimson right now, right, and we rolled Ravage and Trampled, you'd be like, yeah, the trampled ruins of previous human cities stretch out before you as the light fades behind you. It's like, fuck yeah, cool, perfect,
Yeah.
And I think it's cool too because I think tools like this do enough for you but they don't do too much, if that makes sense. Like you still have to be creative if they give you a word. They didn't give you a sentence. They gave you a theme, a word. And
it's like a little seed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, cool. How am I going to use this? Yeah, cool. Structures. Structures provide you with specific locales for the action to take place while on mission. Roll 2d6 or choose from the list to determine where the sparks are as they move throughout the location. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I got a 1 and a 6.
Underground factory.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6.
Oh, wait. No, I got to roll a 6. So I got the 1, and then I got to roll another 2d6. I got a 6 and a 3, so that'd be 9.
Warehouse. So you are in an underground warehouse and an underground factory. It's dark. It's cold. The sun's light has left. It's totally silent everywhere, and it's devastated. Very cool. Great section. Fantastic. Every game should have tools like this. And it's nice because a lot of these third-party indie games that we go over do have these tools. And it's weird because a lot of the bigger games don't. Or they do have them in a separate $60 book.
You know what? They do have a marketing budget.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just again, it's 6 to start: Underground Factory, Metropolis, Old Sunwell, Stronghold, Tangle, and Tundra. And fucking, well, it's not. What? How many numbers is 2d6? I guess it would be 11, right? Because there's just no 1. 11 options for each one of those. So that's 66 options right there, just in structures, just different structures you could be in, right? I mean, maybe math is dumb, but 6 times 11. I mean, that's so many.
It is so many.
You wouldn't even think, but like how, like if,
like honestly, if I wanted to play this tonight, I could play this tonight. Like if I wanted to get the group together and play it tonight, even if they were newer player characters, we could play it tonight. It would take us maybe 30 minutes to set up the game. And while they were building characters, I would just start rolling dice and just build the scenario right there using this. And I would never fucking worry about it. You know,
the hardest thing about this entire game, I think, would just be like how much time you want to put into the maps, and that's it. Because there's no specific moments. You don't need any movement. You don't need a grid, and you could roll up the entire thing and probably actually taking notes and really getting it down less than half an hour. I would say half an hour is probably what I give myself.
Like for certain games, because sometimes I play real sparse with certain groups where we're just like we only have dice and paper and pens, and then maybe I might have a couple images to pull up and everything else is just verbal. This is a great game for that, I don't need, if you have an imaginative group and you are good enough at describing stuff and this gives you tools to be good enough at describing stuff, like I'm not gonna fucking do it.
The only time that I would really move into more so this one I think I would probably try to do more maps and stuff, just because of things like the Voyager, where the positions on the battlefield kind of matter.
Right.
And like even like Cauldron with Sanguine, like things along the path, I would probably, but you don't need to do anything crazy. Literally, you don't even need like a crazy map. Like even if you just had like just literally a white nothing with just tokens that say bad guy and good guy on it, that would be plenty just for your positioning, and then just have images all over the thing. Or you can go balls to the wall and like, build space maps and shit like that. But you wouldn't need hardly anything outside of, and if you're going to play online anyway, you could literally just open friggin' like any like shared Blackboard or Roll20 if you really want, and just throw a token on there. So easy. And like you just said, 30 minutes prep and you could run it tonight.
And I'm about that. I used to write so much and prep so much, and now I'm like, if I can play with you guys and just like, I want to do, I don't want to do as much work as I've done in the past. Because it makes being a GM less fun. Because it becomes homework and a chore, and you're doing more than anyone at the table by a large amount. And this takes so much off of you for that, frankly. Like, dude, I have so many pre-built maps for space stuff. I could just throw in like ruins. I'm just gonna throw something down.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And again, other bigger, more marketed games, they really, no matter how many times they say don't do this, when the rules and the way a game works reinforces that, just someone saying hashtag DM tip, don't do this, doesn't fucking help you at all. So like having a game that actually is rules light, which is great for the players to jump in easy, and prep light lets you just play the fucking game.
Yeah.
You know, and like you just said, like a GM shouldn't be the only source of creating the fun, and should actually have fun doing it as opposed to having fucking homework. So 100%. Enemies. Yeah, so there are a lot of enemies, and they're divided up in a few different ways. You know, divided up by stuff and things. Yeah. The dusk is no shortage of threats hidden away in the shadows. Beyond the light of the sun shards, humans on their path, animals changed by the environment, a menace from beyond our system, a group worshiping the moon, are just some of the enemies the Sparks will face. Sorry. Oh God, that wasn't fake. I'm sorry. I went to a bar last night where they were smoking outdoors, and I was standing out there, and I don't smoke cigarettes. Let me tell you, harsh, gross. Bro. Yeah, gross. I had to wash my clothes and my face. Enemies have the following characteristics, though they might not have all of them. Health, which they probably will have. How much harm they take before dying. Harm and range, the amount of damage done to the target's health. At what range. Moves. Keywords, special rules or effects. Variants, optional alternative versions of the enemies with noted changes. There's a nice little example of a lunar heretic. I love that in a world that is fueled by sun shards, the bad guys are moon cultists. Yep.
You know, moon cultists are everywhere. Classic fantasy and post-apocalyptic solar settings. Yeah.
Moon's haunted, dude.
Yeah. The lunar heretic, here, as you can see here, has 1 health, and it does 1 harm at near range. Acolytes at the beginning of their journey on the pale path, they push the limits of enlightenment with inhuman fervor. Their moves are wield moonlight, eclipse sunlight, pray to the pale one, expire, inflict 3 harm at close range. During the GM's turn, Spencer, the GM, activates one of the lunar heretics. Spencer describes lunar heretic conjuring a beam of moonlight and firing it towards Kate's Pyre Spark, who is at a near range. Pyre takes 1 harm from the lunar heretic's action. Later, on Kate's turn, she cuts down the lunar heretic, which activates its expire keyword, dealing 3 damage to aim at close range. So expire is one of the keywords, this lunar heretic has one. I feel like keywords are the one thing that are super optional, because a lot of them are not going to have keywords, because it's essentially a special ability. And if we're in a situation where I want you to just mow down some cannon fodder and on an epic battle, they're probably not going to have a keyword. They're probably just going to die.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of the lower ones don't. I mean, you know, and then when we get, so elites is next, and elites have like a huge list of keywords. Well, there's also the list of keywords at the bottom here too.
Oh yeah, here it is. So having said that, moving on to elites. Elites are elite, y'all. Elites are the most dangerous enemies the Sparks will face out in the dusk. These would be considered boss enemies in many other games and represent a final foe the Sparks might face when trying to topple one of their enemy factions. Elites function using the same mechanics as regular enemies with a few additions, right? They're going to have ads, they're going to have followers, a list of enemies that always accompany the elite when they're encountered. These are most loyal followers and will defend them with their lives. They're going to have a lair with specific themes and structures where the elite is located, as well as possible additional complications that can be found here. And commands, ongoing effects or moves the elite provides to their allies through a fight, providing them with bonuses to make the fight more challenging.
Love it.
Yeah, IQ. Great stuff. Also, it's so, everything is in this fucking book is so simple and so easy to understand, and it makes so much sense. And you're like, yeah, totally. This is exactly what this would be in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the keywords list, like you were just saying. Go ahead.
No, did you want to pick? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like 13. Do you want to pick one or two, and I'll pick one or two of my favorites?
I actually, Expire is maybe one of my favorites because you're going to kill these enemies, period. And having them all have an effect on them where they're essentially like, they might just chain a bunch of Expire effects. You could really fuck up your sparks really bad.
Oh, for sure. Well, especially if did the Expire effect only hit sparks, or is it all nearby things?
I would say if it says it inflicts 3 harm at close range and it doesn't say to enemies, dude, I'm gonna fucking say that.
I would literally just send like 6 dudes out with 2, and then just the first time someone takes one down, it's like boom, 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 boom. Basically, like the Suicide Squad. I really like Disrupt. Prevent a spark from using a power or benefiting from a mod during their next turn, which is literally basically all they do.
Yes, it's all. That's all they do. That's a really good one. Yeah, they're all very good. They add flavor. Yeah. I will say that as we get through, there's like different types of enemies, and like where I would put these keywords is really dependent on those type of enemies. And like the Expire one, we're talking about the Human Bomb. The first one that comes up, the Hellions or whatever, where they're all fire themed. Those are the ones who I'm making living explicits, you know?
Well, do you want to pick a faction, and I'll pick a faction? We'll just like tag 1 or 2 of the things in it.
Yeah, I really mainly focused on the Hellions when I came here.
The Hellions? I think it's Hellions, right?
Is it Hellions?
Because they're like hell. Yeah.
Whatever.
Go for it if you want to do Hellions.
Yeah, I just, they're kind of the most basic enemy, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I'll read the little blurb, though. When humanity returned to our scorched world, there were some who decided to break away from the sun shards and efforts to rebuild. These factions splintered and took to the dusk, where they could hide and wait and hunt. I don't know why there's 2 ands there. These raiders are driven by a desire to pillage whatever supplies they need, attack weakened cities or vulnerable caravans. And so the locals took to calling them Hellions. When a Hellion may lack in technological advances, we've seen, especially when compared to the Sparks, they make up for in creative engineering and a complete disregard for their own safety. Their equipment is slapped together with shoddy wiring, tape, but that makes them all the more dangerous. Travel into the dusk has always been dangerous, but the Hellions have made our homes a target as well. And this is a cool faction because I think the worst monsters are people. This is like raiders are the darkest and like dark. That shit can get dark. And this is a pretty like not as heavy game, so I don't know if I get that dark with it as I could, but it's there.
It kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Reavers from Firefly a little bit. I mean, totally. I know they're all crazy, but like when I think of like their tech that's all just kind of like slapped together rusty bullshit, that kind of gives me this vibe.
I was thinking the bandits from Borderlands, those the fighting bands.
Oh, I never played Borderlands.
You fucking nerd. Play Borderlands.
I'm a nerd for not playing a video game.
They've got their shock troopers, their basic. I'm gonna go down to their elite. Actually, let's go to their elite. It's got this cool dart next to it.
Oh yeah. Let me kick to the spreads here.
Oh yeah, sorry. I apologize again. I'm in the spreads. I'm a little spreads boy.
There we go.
Yeah. So elite Caro the Bloodied, 10 health, pretty good, right? Most things have 1. So 3 harm for nearby that has 2 splash. So it fucking does splash damage, which makes sense for fire. Fire spreads. Caro is a veteran of the dusk. She's managed to rally many of the Hellion group under her banner. Her word is law. Enforced by her loyal followers and trusty flamethrowers. She's got 3 moves: Unleash Hell, Take All They Have, and Ignore Collateral Damage. Brutal. She's got 3 Carvers following her and 5 Firebugs. Lair, the theme is always fortified. Makes sense. She has this very fortified, like stronghold. Flamethrower traps are hidden throughout the structure, which is a huge fucking bummer. Commands aura. All Hellions gain 1 berserk, which is one of the keywords from before. Carvers gain flight. That fucking sucks. Firebugs gain wound. The spark takes 1 harm on their next action. So yeah, really buffs your enemies. I like her. I like bandits. I like fighting bandits.
No,
you know,
she's badass. Well, she's got 10 health. How many health does a Carver have?
Carvers have 2.
So that's 6, and then firebugs. How many health does the firebug have?
3.
Oh, so that's plus 15 plus 10. So if you were to, so based on like the health pool, like fight and stuff like that, on the building shit earlier, if you do the elite that comes with all the bad guy followers stuff, that's 31 points.
Yeah.
So that is, if you did a crimson thing, you're pretty much just going to get her with maybe like some guards on the outside a little bit, and that's it, because that's over half of a crimson mission right there.
Yeah.
I really like the blood drummer too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just a good name too.
Yeah.
5 health though, man.
Yeah, 5 health, but it doesn't do any harm.
Yeah. But other Hellions gain flight.
Yeah, feeds their rage, keep my distance, call for an execution. And then, yeah, because the flight ability means that things can't be injured while in close range. Basically, can't do fucking melee damage, which is insane. If I'm going to pick a faction, Spencer Campbell, Gila RPGs, really likes birds, from what I could tell from everything he tweets about. So Corvus Dominion, I think, is definitely the ode to birds in Nova. Birds are fine. I like them. I like feathers and stuff. I think the Zircon is a really cool, and the art is really great. The Haze Dwellers is neat. Haze Dwellers are basically... Oh, so I'm not going to go over them, but the Corvus Dominion are basically like, humans weren't the only ones on Earth during the Nova event. An old adversary of ours from beyond the solar system has lingered, waiting for their moment, and that's these bird people. The Haze Dwellers are basically the random flora and fauna and creatures that live out in the dusk. So you got wyvern broods and dusk fangs and devil toads. The elite's a gorefang. We talked about the lunar cult a little bit already. And that is, while we were distracted by the Hellions and Corvus, something whispered in the minds of those feeling hopeless. We wouldn't know it for many generations, but it was slow and insidious. And their elite is actually a corrupted spark.
Very cool. So cool. Honestly, very cool.
Yeah, so that's actually the one I'm going to go over a little bit. Basically, where we began our research on the unlimited potential of the sun, others began to seek out the lunar shards, shattered remnants of our once gleaming moon, now shadowed by ink and starlight, and the so-called lunar prophets were sharing a belief to others, the pale path. There's a larger design. We are cogs of grander machination. Soon, many would take pilgrimages into the dusk. These rituals saw people being granted power matching our spark technology. So we already went over the lunar heretic, but there's also the umbral prophet, the dusk lily chemist, the moonstone paladin, and the umbral walker. But the elite corrupted spark, 10 health, 3 close or 2 near, or 1 far.
Oh.
Right?
God.
And then the picture looks like this kind of like busted down spark, like with a cane.
Yeah.
And it still looks foreboding though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What if you ran this game after running it for a while? What if you flipped it and you ran a group of like lunar sparks?
That'd be dope.
It would be dope.
That'd be cool. That would be dope. Elite corrupted spark. The lunar cult has found ways to wrap and corrupt our sparks using moonstones from the lunar shards. Whether the pilot inside has fallen victim to the cult's machinations or the spike pilots itself now remains to be seen. So the moves are: you wield a strange power, you reveal a twisted mortality, or you channel the pale one. There are variants: Grim, Pox, and Drifter. So basically, the corrupted spark can be other types of spark. So if you're a Grim variant corrupted spark,
that's a huge fucking bummer.
Yeah, right. Summon a nightmare. And a Nightmare has 1 health and 1 harm close. If you're a Pox, you can weaken any attribute 2 until next turn. And Drifter, with a wound, you go Berserk 1. Followers, 2 Lunar Heretics, 2 Umbral Prophets, and 6 Moonstone Paladins. The lair theme is always pale.
Makes sense.
And Weaken Sun 1, yep. And then commands, Lunar Prophets gain Expire. Woo! Restore 2 to Corrupted Spark. And then Lunar Heretics can trigger their Expire as a move, causing them to die. Wow. So you can just decide to explode, which is fucking badass.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. They give an example mission here. We don't really need to go through that. If you want the example mission, buy the game.
Buy the book.
Buy the book.
Buy the game. Yeah.
And then the last 20 pages of the GM section, and I know you didn't really go over this, but I think we should hit some specific parts in it that I really liked.
Listen, bro, take it away. We got. All right. You know, we're a little ahead of schedule, so
we are, which is great. There's just some really, really good parts in here that I think are good advice for RPGs in general, but fit really well in the game. So, as the GM, your role alongside the players is to tell a story of powerful sparks on dangerous missions. You play the enemy forces, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Expectations and safety. We talked about that already. Setting and genre. Yeah, Nova is a sci-fi role-playing game at its heart, but there are plenty of opportunities to blend it with horror and fantasy elements. And this is one of the parts that says, you don't need to understand the science as the GM. Much like we don't ask for theories explaining how our favorite science fiction shows and movies work, the technology in Nova just works. You don't need exactly what it just said. Like, you can just have cool shit happen and you don't need an explanation for it. Like, if you want some random bullshit out there that's like almost magic, you know, like you just talked about, like this tech and magic is almost indistinguishable at a certain point. Just do whatever, because like we talked about, the cauldron ability where you just turn into bats doesn't really make sense, but guess what? It's cool. So just go with it. At all. Yeah. Not worrying about the city. Just bringing up death again. Sparks can't die. Like, and if you want to have them die, make it cool. Yeah, and then but the powers wording I really like, and this also works with the moves that the bosses have. So the phrasing for powers is left intentionally vague. Powers are opportunities for the sparks to feel badass. So use the loose writing to their advantage. For example, Scorch's Erupt doesn't have any rules on how it might affect the environment. But a resourceful spark may decide to use the power's fiery destructive nature to smash down some terrain. The other part is with the enemy's moves. So if we scroll back up real quick to the Corrupted Spark, the moves are wield a strange power, right? Reveal a twisted morality, or channel the pale one. There are no rules for any of those things.
It's just like, yeah, this is the
super
thing
vague.
do. Yeah.
But you can do whatever you want with it. And I really like that it really says it encourages the vagueness of it. Yeah. Fast combat, challenging players. So this is another part that we talked about. Nova is designed to be fast combat because many of the elements of the fight have been streamlined. A player's turn shouldn't be spent analyzing all the best options. They may also come to you with ideas that aren't entirely in line with the rules, but still highlight the powerful nature of the characters. Don't worry too much about the specific distant ranges. Keep the action flowing. Let the players keep going. Some players may struggle with this at first. That's totally fine. They'll get used to it the more that they play.
I'm good with that. I'm super
absolutely.
Good with that, you
know? So here's another part. Instead of changing numbers, change the way the enemies act. That's a purpose of the GM turn. Have the enemies act strategically, forcing the players to quickly change their course of action. In addition, add moves that allow the enemies to do multiple things during their turn. For example, at first an enemy soldier might take cover, but a more advanced and challenging enemy takes cover and opens fire. Designing missions, a lot of that's rolled. Don't really need to go over that a whole lot. Rewards, this is another part that's really important. It basically says there is no real advancement. You just get sparks. There are no mechanical incentives in the game for completing missions, no currency, XP, or new gear. You literally just get sparks. You may be tempted to include some of this, especially new tech and gear, but I caution you against it because adding more levers and gears will likely slow down play.
Probably makes sense.
But it says, find ways to make the outcome of the missions meaningful without having to give them a mechanical gift. part of that, I think, is building the city together and doing the whole I know a guy thing creates investment. Have the players describe changes in the city after they come home, provide non-mechanical rewards found in the city. Access to the old Earth archives is a fun idea that doesn't require rules behind it, but the players will probably want it. So build like story-based rewards and investment in the game, because you don't get...
Yeah, because I mean, this game is not really about mechanics. Like, it has mechanics, right? But it's about an experience. It's about having these overpowered, like once again, like Lucia. Like, I know we want to compare it to Destiny like a bunch, but like, you know, it's a good comparison. Like, you know, like, it's about the story. Like, you want to know what happens next. You're trying to get stuff done. Like, it doesn't really matter what happens to your character. Your character's already a fucking like demigod, you know?
Yeah, they're fucking badass, like exoskeleton with flame blades. I mean, come on. I think, to me, the game is not about what you get for completing the reward is not what you. The reward is the friends we made along the way. Really, is what it is.
It's not the destination. It's the journey that matters. You know.
That's literally what I'm trying to say. It sounds cliche, but if you're playing a badass fucking exoskeleton, the reward I'm going to get from playing this game is not what bullshit I get at the end of the mission during the debrief. It's how badass I was during the game. Like, how badass your deployment was. And that's the rewarding experience to me as a player in the game, not as a character, is just how cool can I look on the mission, not what I get for completing it, you know?
I'm into that. You know, it's fun to play a game and be like, my character's a total fucking badass and I did all this powerful shit. And you'd be like, yeah, cool. Absolutely. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Principles. So basically the last part of the GM section, for the most part, says you're also playing the game. You are not solely responsible for fun happening at the table. I'm going to actually go back to pages on this right here. So we can zoom in a little bit more. The PDF does not like to be scrolled. I will say that.
Oh, really?
No, it does not. Yeah, internal processing error every time you try to... Yeah.
Really? I'm not getting that.
I'm going to... I'm just going to reopen it.
Technical difficulties. Here
we go. We are on page like 70-ish.
Yeah, 70 or 68.
Oh, I just got right to it. Okay, so principles.
Nice.
You are also playing the game. You should have fun too. You're not the only one responsible for it, which I think, again, in some other games, like, you are... People sit around waiting for you to create the situation and feed you everything, you know? Be a fan of the players. They're badass solar-fueled mechs and should feel like it. Challenge them, but don't crush them. Keep it quick. Combat is supposed to be frenetic. And I love this part. If a player is taking too long on their turn, feel free to show your hand and have an enemy start acting. Have enemies begin to reposition themselves, or have the sounds of incoming reinforcements echo off the walls. Like, you're not supposed to sit and think all day. Like, when it's your turn, just fucking do something. Like, it's supposed to be fast enough, it won't matter. You shouldn't have that situation where you're waiting 30 minutes between turns in this, basically. Just like, do something and go. Yeah. Spread the responsibility. You are not solely responsible for knowing the rules. They need to know their own abilities. It's a movie, not a simulation. Enemy characters should act and react in combat in a reasonable way. Have them panic and retreat, but also rally and fight harder. Find the story. Without context, the Sparks are just doing one mission after another. Ask them why they do it or what they care about. Again, part of investment when you're creating the situation.
Absolutely.
And the world is strange. While Nova might be considered sci-fi, there are no rules for what exists in the dusk. Surprise the players and what they find, and make the return to the Sun Shards a welcome respite from the horrors beyond. This is kind of an interesting section at the end. It talks about like what it is as an RPG. So Nova is a combat-focused RPG. The G is there in playing out fights, but often the RP is cast aside in these sort of games. Include role-playing elements and opportunities in your session to help ground the fighting in a context that gives it meaning. If you're interested in RP opportunities in your session, continue the following. Building and populating the city as a central hub. After each mission, reflect on the outcome as a group, which I think is written in the rules.
Yes, it is.
There's a pilot inside the exosuit. Let the pilots breathe. What do they do between missions to blow off steam? These are the opportunities for those like Firefly episodes where they land on the planet and really like get to interact and stuff. Yeah. So like if you do this a bunch and play, having the players come ready for, badass combat and then giving them like an RP session where maybe like the exosuits need like a tech upgrade, or like there's a new something, or like the fuel's low, and then having them have to actually play out as pilots could be an interesting way to like break it up and give them this investment.
Definitely.
And then next time come back to their suits, which is cool. Basically a bunch of different stuff there. And then there's this whole section on setting, which you get a lot in the beginning. So I'm not sure, like, this is really important information, and I don't know where else you would put it, but it's kind of interesting that you get all of this lore. First of all, you know me, I'm a big lore boy. When I hit this, I was like, ooh, weird spot for this, but I love it. But basically you get like 10 pages of lore. Nova takes place in an alternate timeline of Earth, where one day the sun in the sky mysteriously exploded. Make Nova your own. Here you'll find as close to a canonical history of Nova as the records can find. And I'm not going to read through the entire thing. We've already talked about it a lot. The sun explodes, and before that
also,
stuff
you
existed.
should go buy this book. Like that. If you're really at this point, if you're that interested and you want us to read through the lore, you just go get the book. You know?
Yeah. It basically just talks about the shards. It talks about the dusk. It talks about the lunar cults. Oh, two things I really like here at the end. The character sheet. When I first saw the character sheet, I was like, damn, this character sheet looks cool, but that's going to be a pain in the dick to write on because it's still all dark.
Yeah.
Right? But then you scroll to then you get a quick reference page, which we love us some quick reference page. One quick reference page, all the rules that you need, boom, right there. Also dark though. But then you get to black and white, obviously print friendly character sheet and quick reference page right at the end.
Yes.
Super thoughtful, really well done. I also love that the PDF has the cover, both front and back. There are PDFs you get that don't put the cover in the front and the back. I really enjoy that. But the character sheet, the character sheet is really well done. I'm actually going to go to the cool looking one on the dark pages. So your Spark file, you write down your call sign, your Spark class, your pilot name, your pronouns, your sun, moon, and shade scores go right in the middle. There's only a certain number of attributes you can have. So it's this kind of like half circle, and you can just mark off segments for your health and fuel. And then you have these persistent mod locations, persistent mod 1 and 2, persistent mod 3 and 4. And then you have the same thing with your power mods, or your powers there at the bottom. And then you have all your persistent, wait a minute. Oh yeah, because you put the powers in later. So you can put all of the mods that you unlock right on the sheet, and then you write down all the powers that you have in your installed mods. And then your power mods go at the bottom. So basically everything you need, you can just write down, super referenceable.
It all works really well.
And a character sheet's super simple, because realistically, all you need to know outside of like your name and shit like that is your sun, moon, shade, and health, and your flare. That's all you need. But this does give you a little bit of you can write down your passive and supernova. And that's Nova.
That's Nova. We just went through all of it. Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. This is another one. I know we pretty much only review games that we like already. So
yeah. Well, we also don't want to.
We don't like reading shitty games.
Yeah. So.
You get there?
Yeah. We can talk real quick about. I'm gonna get rid of this because it's fucking my shit up. So before we get to the end, we still have a little bit of time. So again, the Lumen system is what this is based on, which is the system created by Spencer Campbell. You can go find the Lumen SRD for free on their itch page.
Yeah.
And it's great because again, we love us some it's hyperlinked. We love us some third-party license. We give a lot of value to that. The fact that there's a straight up SRD that you can use too that makes it simple is so nice. Like, what is Lumen? What do you need? What about the dice? Core mechanics.
Gameplay loop. Like, it has everything. Like, for this system or what you're doing, like, here's how the loop works. Like, it's really good. So.
Yeah, it's good. And not only that too, with Nova, you also get a Nova Creator Kit. So what is this? This is a Nova Creator Kit, a guide for creating your own content for the Nova RPG. Inside you'll find advice on making new sparks, building new rules for the game, and just generally anything I can think of that might be helpful to you. How fucking cool is this?
Very cool.
It's like 7 spread pages, so it's about 14 pages of basically just Spencer's tips and tricks on how to make it your own and make content for it, which is really, really cool. And that all comes with Nova. Like when you down, we'll talk about that in the value section, but you get a decent amount of stuff in the downloads. And the fact that you get the Lumen SRD and Creator Kit is great.
Yeah.
Do you want to head over to the
let's do it, bro. Let's rate it. Let's give it some ratings.
Boom, Nova. All right, so real quick rundown, like we always do. It is a total score out of 50. There are 5 sections that we give a total of 10 points out of, or potential for. The first is art and style. That is both the art that's used, which is basically kind of how good the art is, how much art there is, how much it's utilized, and then the style is that art consistent throughout the book.
Right.
An art book like Merkborg is like the peak, because we're art boys here. Again, don't forget, this is all subjective bullshit based on our terrible opinions.
Yeah.
So if you don't agree with this, that's fine.
And like, really, the most important part of the show is that it was, we were reading through it. Was this a game that like sparked your interest in playing? Because it's way more important than the numerical values that we give at the end. Because we don't know shit about dick, bro.
We don't know shit about dick. So layout and function is the second thing, and that is how well the book is laid out, as in the readability, the page. Function is like PDFs or is hyperlinks, bookmarks, things like that. Things that make the actual like either the book itself function as an easier to read thing,
or
like
the actual
indexes, or no, layout and function is specifically how the book is functioned through.
Well, no, I mean function. We had for Lancer, they have an app that we added to their function score.
Oh, yeah.
So if you
because it was almost needed. It was almost needed.
There were tools to make like the functionality better.
Right. You're right. You're 100% right with that. Rule set and crunch is basically if it's an original rule set, how do we like it? If it uses an existing rule set, how well does it adapt it? And crunch is it the appropriate amount of rules for the system? Like if it says rules light, is it rules light? Or is it like, 600 pages of just crunchy bullshit? Originality is a very broad one, because it could be originality in the rules, could be originality in the lore, could be originality in just the themes of the game, things like that. That one's a little bit more broad. And value used to be called price, now it's value, is basically your bang for your buck. What all do you get for the money that you spend? We always think this one's important, because being able to afford the game, I can't play your game if I can't afford it. And if I have to pay $50 for a book and then another $30 for a PDF, and then you have to have everything else, I can't play your game, and what all extra resources are there, like third-party licenses, apps, websites, different things like that. How much value, like if I want to play this game, how much access do I have for how much money I have to spend for it, basically. So going into art and style. So
listen, there's no art in this book, and it's just it lacks such style. There's nothing in here. This is a really beautiful book. It has
as a book, it's
good
beautiful
amount of art. And like the covers are amazing, but like the interior is great. They have 3 colors that totally fit thematically, that they use all the way through. There is, there's art on most pages. It's usually character art, but there is character art on most pages. I think this is a really solid, and the city art. I forgot about that art of the city. That looks really cool.
There's the one city page. So, I mean, I think realistically, there's only one piece of non-character art, and that's that city page. Yeah. And some of the early ones are silhouettes of later pieces. Even though saying that, until you get to the GM section, it is hard to flip through a spread that doesn't have a piece of art. And gosh, is the artist listed in here? I mean, of course they are. Cover and interior, Eddie York. Like big thumbs up. These characters, oh my gosh, the character art is absolutely stunning. Like the Infernal is just crazy, and the Grim. I mean, So, I mean, what can you say? I think the art's really well done. I think they use. I think there's no spaces that I'm like, here's a big empty spot. What are your thoughts? So here's the thing. So this, we also have to reference it. So we know it's not a 10, it's not Merc Borg. Because the other thing we talk about with the art is basically, with Merc Borg, the art is part of the game almost, or like part of the rules. There's rules within the art sometimes and things like that. So it's not a 10. And if we look at things that have 9s, again, those are closer to art books. This is almost just like character art within the book that's really, really well done. But it's also a kind of character-driven book. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm on the verge of like, I'm 7, at least a 7 for sure.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't know if there's enough non-character art to bump it to an 8. You know, if
so
there were
for
more
reference,
cityscapes, or if there were more like the other areas like the Crimson or whatever, like I would be inclined to bump it up. Go ahead. What's our reference?
So Into the Odd has an 8. Casketland has an 8, but Casketland was packed full of art. Warpland and Orbital Blues got a 9, and that's way more art.
Yeah.
So things that got a 7, Troika, full of art, but not an art book. Red Giant. I put this right around Red Giant.
I would put this at the exact same fucking level as Red Giant. If we get Red Giant at 7, then this is 100% a 7.
Yep, this reminds me very much of like the amount of art that was in Red Giant and the style of art it was, which was character art, monster art, and that's about where you're at.
Damn it, I love Red Giant.
Red Giant's good. It's a great game. Yeah. Layout and function. So again, I always have to say, Troika, best laid out
Troika
and functioned.
Yes.
Best. Period.
It's a pretty good one, though.
I mean, it is pretty good, but as far as where I feel like when you get towards Troika, you're talking about hyperlinks, which this does have, table of contents, which this does have, no bookmarks. It does not, and there are a bunch of places that say page this that aren't linked to that page. Right. And again, like Troika, every fucking page will take you back to the beginning of the chapter or the beginning of the thing. It does have a quick reference, which is super important. It has an index, which is super important, and the index is hyperlinked. I think that's above and beyond like nothing, which is a 5.
Yes.
So, I mean,
I enjoy the like layout of this book so much, and just the way it's so easy to read. I think for me, for layout for this one, this one's an 8. Yeah, so I was thinking
just from a technical standpoint with the PDFs and all the rest of that, or with the PDF, I was the 7. And then when you actually look at the layout, like you just said, readability of the pages, bumps it up to an 8 for me too.
Yeah, and I think we talk about readability a lot, and I love the dense games that we don't always cover and that sometimes we do, but man, they are fucking hard to read because it's a lot of words.
It's a lot, and like I said, I have to read. I can't read the spreads. I need to read the pages because I need to be able to focus on it. I can't read
spreads on that one, but it's my ADHD is too bad.
But I love being able to just take in the knowledge. It's on the taking the words that are on the page, kind of like as a whole, on top of like not having just like Lancer, for example. I don't think we give a great score to this because it's just. I mean, and it's also a really long book, but it's just black and white text. It's just like columns and columns. It's hard to read that.
Yeah.
All right. Rule set and crunch. So, I mean, we're basically critiquing at this point the illuminated by Lumen system because that is what this is.
And how it uses that system.
Yes. And the crunch based on it. So first of all, crunch, I mean, it's like nothing. I mean, the rules are,
it's amazing.
Like, it's fantastic. So clean. Yeah. It's super rules light.
This game achieves exactly what it's trying to achieve with that rule set. I think it is a great use of the Lumen rule set. I very much enjoy it.
Now the question then at that point is, how do you feel about the Lumen rule set? Like it's definitely clean, like super clean. But thoughts on the dice pool, like you said, with like so let's actually do this. Let's say 3d6s. And I can actually, is there a way that I can actually just like list the totals? So, I'm gonna roll 3d6s. How many times do you think?
10 times.
10 times. Okay, I'm gonna roll 3d6s 10 times. Can you make a like a mark for fail for like?
Gotcha.
Okay, so first one, I got a 5.
Okay.
Second one, 4.
Okay.
3.
Is that still partial or is that below partial?
I think 1 and 2 is the fail. 3 and 4 is the
Okay.
partial success.
Gotcha.
So that's a partial success. So that's 3. I got a 5. I got a 6. I got a 5. I got a 6 and a 5. I got a 6. I got a 5. I got 2 5s. And I got a 6 and a 5.
Okay.
Is that 10?
Yes, it is 10.
Okay, so how many complete successes in 10 rolls with 3 dice?
8.
8 out of 10.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the
Did you know how
system
many times
for
you failed?
none.
You
Not one
didn't fail
time.
once. You get 2
Not one time.
partial successes.
Yeah, 2 partial successes. So listen, for a game like Novo where the point is to just be badass, I really, really like that.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. The point is to be super badass. Like, I don't know that I
Yeah.
really care that you pass a lot. Like, this game is not about being grueling. It's about like being super.
Being a badass.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. So I need to read deeper in Extremis, which is a game of basically like have you ever read what is the name of the first book? The Ninth? It's not Gideon the Ninth. Basically it's like space lesbian necromancers. Really good book.
Good.
It's based on that basically. It uses Lumen System. And I'd be curious to see someone use the Lumen System in a game that's not this.
Yeah.
That's not, and how they would adapt that. So I did buy Hedge. I'm gonna read deeper into Hedge too. Hedge is a really cool, like, you're like forest wardens fighting like evil fae kind of situation. And I'd be curious to know if there's anything that like kind of pulls that pass value down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I love me a 2d6 because I love the middle. I love the sure you can, but this kind of feels like a yes and not a yes but kind of game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just like just talking and just kind of working through it. I like it overall. No, fuck you.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, I like it a lot. It's just I do feel like there's a lot of successes. And that would be my only critique. That'd be my only critique is that it doesn't. I like the but again, that's my only critique of it. What are your thoughts on the rule set and crunch, and not only just the Lumen System, then but also the sparks and all the rest of it?
I think that for what it is, I'm into it. I don't think that every game I'd play with this, but I want to I think this achieves a superhero feel. Like, you are the heroes of this story. You are almost untouchable. You cannot die. And you're very powerful. I think for this one, I might have to play it because while we sit here and roll dice rollers on our computer, remember that computer can never really generate a true random number.
Right.
So when we play, it might feel a little different. We might fail more, and we probably will because sitting at a table, you usually do.
Well, and you don't have 3 in every attribute either. You don't.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you start with like 4 points, period. So you're gonna get more fails, period.
Yes.
And again, I know I said we're kind of judging Lumen too, but not. So this is for Nova though, and we're not judging the Lumen SRD.
Nova uses system grade. This is exactly.
I couldn't think of a better game and system. I think the game and system are perfectly designed for each other.
They're
a perfect marriage. So
Yes.
for the rule set and crunch for this game, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it's I don't know. It's hard to tell without actually playing it, but it's at least an 8.
Yeah, my thought was an 8 too.
So well, maybe if I play this and I think differently, we might bump it up or down. But I think an 8 is a very acceptable position for it.
For reference, Orbital Blues, Mothership 0 Edition, and Red Giant are all 8s as well.
Okay, I'm good with that. That's good company.
Yeah. Because again, we don't have a 10. So an 8 in rule set is basically a 9.
And we'll,
So-
I don't know if we'll ever 10 in rule set. It's gonna be really hard to.
Yeah, I don't think we ever will. Like it would, yeah. And again, since it's such a personal preference for rules, like it'd be hard. Originality in all things. Thoughts?
Man, I really like this game, bro. I
think it's great.
I think it's great. I'm trying to think of what uses like an exploded sun type of like end of the world. I know like the exploded sun is kind of a theme, but not necessarily using the sun's shards as fuel.
Fuel for exosuits.
For exosuits, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
going out into the dark. Like it's basically sci-fi, quasi-horror, post-apocalyptic. I dig it.
What has our highest originality scores? Do you have it pulled up?
Oh, I think Necronautilus is a 10.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. So outside of that,
Good luck
Murkborg
beating that.
you're not going to beat Necronautilus. Like it's our peak game. I'm trying to find one. Oh, Kingdoms has a 9. But I mean, when we talked about the micro and macro generational play of Kingdoms, I mean that was crazy.
Yeah. That's
Again for reference, Orbital Blues is an 8, Mothership is an 8, Arc was an 8.
I think this is an 8 as well.
In the Odd is an 8, Warplane's an 8. I mean, I feel like it's right around there.
Yeah,
you know?
I do too.
Yeah, because I don't think it quite taps. I mean, Kingdoms is
pretty
far up there.
Was an experience, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think, and we don't have a 10 in it. No, the only 10 is Necronautilus, which again,
Yeah,
like,
good luck.
it's that for a reason. I'm super happy with an 8 on this too. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think so.
Value. Okay, so
right. So if I want the hardcover book, it is $40 US.
Mhm.
Which is kind of a lot. If I want just the PDF off of itch, it's $20, which is only a little bit more than what we've deemed as like a $15 is the like average PDF price. I think you and I just like decided for some of the like more middle end games, not high end because it's not D&D or whatever, or Pathfinder, but like, you know, a lot of PDFs we can get for $5, which is super cheap, but 15 is acceptable. So 20 is a little bit more. You do get the SRD. You do get the how to build thing. I don't know of a lot of third-party content for this. Do you?
I know a lot of
Nova.
Not Nova specifically, just Lumen. I mean, I'm sure if we go to the itch page, there's a ton of third-party content underneath it. You do also, when you get the PDF, because you get the PDF when you get the hardcover, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So you get both the regular and print-friendly character sheet and quick reference. And you get the and then you get the pages and spread. So that's what all comes with the PDF. And then you can also get the creator kit and then the Lumen SRD too. So yeah, I think we talked about, was it 35 for a hardback or was it 35 for like a softback plus PDF was our kind of industry standard that we saw?
What we said. I mean, I don't think 40's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible at all, especially like coming from like a smaller batch and it's hardback.
It is hardback too.
So I would say baseline cost, if you just got the book, it costs with the PDF. I'd put it at like a 4 to 5 because 5 is average. And I think this is just a touch more expensive. Does it have a full adventure included? It does not. It has an example mission, but the way that the missions are created in here, I would just roll up and run.
It does have so many tools to build a mission, so it's almost I would almost not want one. Yeah, why would you? I mean, it's kind of one of the few books. It's like, why the hell would I need a pre-built mission? Because it's just there's so many tools. Like it would just take me 20 minutes to roll a whole adventure up and write it.
Barely,
you know?
if that. Yeah. So if we say like 4 to 5 for just pure baseline cost of the hardcover book, which again, when it's softcover will be less expensive, I can only assume. And the PDF, it's a smidge more expensive than industry standard, but then throw in the Lumen SRD, throw in the creator kit, throw in like on top of just the standard PDF, the quick reference pages, the character sheets, all that kind of stuff. I think it definitely starts bumping it up more in the value.
I'm around a 7 for this one.
7 is exactly what I was thinking.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Feeling a light to decent 7. Transition. Sorry, it's a needle drop for those of you who be fucking with that Anthony Fantano shit, you know.
I have no idea the words that you're talking about.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's a music critic. I don't always agree with him because he's wrong a lot, but he's very famous.
I'm sure people can say that about us a bunch.
Oh no, we're always wrong.
Yeah, every single time.
Yeah, we don't know
8
shit
times
about...
3 plus 7 plus 7.
I don't even do the math for these anymore because even if I tell you, you still do it yourself. So now I
have to. I do it at work too. Someone's like, "Yeah, your patient's in a first degree hard block," and I'm like, "Really? Yep, 0.23." How does it feel to not have any fucking clue what I'm talking about? You know what? 38, which honestly is kind of running to be about our average for like a game we enjoy that isn't just like absolutely like disgustingly stellar, you know, like Necronology or something like that. But we have a bunch of 38s, like a bunch of 38s. So that puts this directly in the company of Forbidden Psalm got a 38, 12 Years got a 38.
Oh, nice. There's a good company to be included in. So.
Orbital Blues got a 39, Red Giant got a 37. Okay, so I said 38 a bunch, and there's only 2 other ones. But I think that fits really well into right where that stack is. I think this feels really good towards like 1 point less than Orbital Blues, a little bit more than Red Giant.
Tuning in for the end of this episode just to get the rating. If you are looking for a game where you can play as essentially overpowered superheroes and save the world incrementally, this is the perfect game for you and your table. If you have power gamers that want to do epic stuff and want to feel cool, which like with the state of the world, I totally understand not wanting to do like some heavy dragged out game. Like this is the game for you, you know. It's well written. It uses the Lumen system really well. And I think we both enjoyed reading through it. And fuck, the rules there's so few rules, man. It's so easy. Like you know how to play the game immediately. One read through, you know? But yeah, so that is Nova.
Yeah. And like you were just saying, I'm sorry. Giving this book gives you permission to just say, fuck it, I'm going to do the most cool, badass stuff I possibly can. And like I said, that's freeing when that's not generally your play style. So I really, really, really want to play this once just to be like, yes, I fucking turned into a bunch of fucking bats as a sun-powered exosuit and fucking like fought lunar heretics that exploded. You know what I mean? When I siphoned off their blood energy to fuel my powers. Like that's just And the other thing too, and I think we didn't really touch on it when we talked about the rule set and crunch. Those 4 original sparks. Again, I say original as if those were the first 4, but I'm sure they were. That are so well written for those 4 that 4 standard class. Anyway, that is Nova. We look at it. 1106. This was an episode. We were like, yeah, good timing on all that. Super happy with it. Final thoughts while I drag out this a little bit about Nova.
I already gave my final thoughts.
Okay, so did I. So we love it. Play the game. Spencer Campbell is an amazing game designer. Drifters is really cool. Slayers is great. Light uses the Lumen system too, and it's based on Destiny. So if you like the looter shooter, kind of like power gaming.
If you're sick of Destiny 2 and you still want to play a version of Destiny with your friends, then Light is a good one for you to check out, you know? Yeah,
check out Light. And then again, check out the Slayer system too, which Drifters is part of. Like basically all the stuff that Spencer does, really, really good, fun, well-written, well-designed games. And you can tell in the way that the characters are created and the system is done that they spend a lot of time on the game design and have been extremely thoughtful about the experience while playing the game, which I think is super, super evident throughout especially that GM section. Like you just said, we skipped over that. But like when I read it, I was just like, generally I would, but I feel like he's like, there's a lot more than just like, this is the standard RPG stuff. It's about like playing the game and really, really giving some tips about this game, not just GMing, that I thought was really, really good.
Absolutely.
So Spencer Campbell, Gila RPGs. Check them out. Check everything out. Play Nova. It's a really good time. We are actually going to go to something I've hinted at. Haven't really talked to Hunter about it.
I have no idea. I have no fucking idea what's going on. So we're going
to do a special episode here at the end where I am actually, and this is the first time I'm talking about it, going to be doing an unboxing as I make sure my address isn't shown of this big box here from the iWizard. And anyone who knows who the iWizard is, or any of you sharp eyes out there that saw this the whole time, this is an iWizard piece. So we are actually going to cut in stream for like 2 seconds so I can cut this into 2 separate VODs without having to do it later because I don't feel like it. So if you're with us, stick around. I'm going to end stream, immediitly restart the stream, and then we are going to do this unboxing. So thank you so much for being here. We'll be back in just a moment. And but I want the VODs on Twitch to be 2 separate VODs, you know?
We're also cutting all of it as well. So
yeah, and we're cutting a bunch of this stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Hunter, I'm not saying goodbye because I'll see you in just a second. We're gonna cut this VOD and be back in just a moment. See you in a second.